On behalf of National Peace Corps Association, I want to take this occasion to welcome everybody to this year's Peace Corps Connect 2024. My name is Carla Brown. I am the Director of Partnerships and Operations at the National Peace Corps Association. I'd like to also take a moment before I talk too much about myself to give a little bit of a shout out or welcome to all the former Peace Corps directors that are on the call. It is always a pleasure for us to have you with us. We also would like to, the National Peace Corps Association would like to give a shout out to all of our Shriver donors, because really it's because of you that we are able to move forward and to do the important work that we do. So on behalf of NPCA, thank you and welcome. A little bit about myself. I'm a returned Peace Corps volunteer. As you can imagine, I served in the Comoro Islands from 92 to 94. My background before coming to NPCA is international development. I spent probably almost 20 years in sub-Saharan Africa, both Francophone and Anglophone countries. Primarily in the role of director. I'll say I like the continent. Maybe the US is more my second home than the continent. Currently, I'm located in North Carolina, Jamestown, which is right close to Greensboro. And just really, really proud and happy to be a part of the NPCA staff as we move the collective agenda of our community forward. So with that, I'm just going to jump right into things. First, we wanted to make sure that we set a few ground rules. We're going to ask everyone to please remain muted during the conference. If you have questions or comments, please feel free to use the chat. We have somebody monitoring that, so that will be we'll be able to respond. They'll be responding in real time. We kindly ask that everyone be respectful and constructive during the conference. We want to leave with a mindset or using a lens of being results oriented. So we ask that you be constructive. If there are any accessibility needs, please write them down in the chat so that we can assist you accordingly. Our intent is to move into the AGNAM meeting, which is the membership, the group's meeting after 4:30. So this portion of the meeting will close at 4:30, and then we'll take a very short kind of intermission and then move directly into that meeting. So again, just wanted to welcome everyone. Super excited for us to be here today. With that, I'm going to take us, would like to introduce a very special way that we're starting, which is a little message from Representative Garamendi. Hope you enjoy what he had to say to us.
Hello, NPCA and all of the members out there. I'm Congressman John Garamendi, and Patty and I really look to your organization as the voice of the returned Peace Corps volunteers. And we got a lot of work to do. Patty and I know that there's a recruiting issue, and you know it too. And so one of the programs that you're working on, I think, is really a very, very good one. And that is to encourage not only the NPCA members, but every returned volunteer to reach out to at least one person, perhaps a college graduate, or perhaps somebody that has decided they want to do something different in their career. Reach out to that person. Talk to them about the Peace Corps. Talk to them about the opportunities to serve, not only fulfilling their own desire to help people, but also to help people around the world and to help address the very, very significant issues that are facing multiple countries, some of them in the less developed area and some of them in the more developed area. So that's an excellent program, and I really encourage you to do that. I know Patty and I did that just yesterday with our grandchildren who are graduating, and we said, go in the Peace Corps. You want to do issues of forestry? Go in the Peace Corps. Get some experience in the Sahel of Africa, which is a huge problem of the deforestation of that region, and then come back to America. And like many returned Peace Corps volunteers, there are jobs waiting in the Department of Agriculture, the State Department, or you name it, even in the other organizations. So let's do that. Let's make that our priority for the coming months and to work directly with the Peace Corps office in bringing volunteers in. Patty's told me just this morning as we were preparing for this, just tell the young kids, put in an application. Only take you a few hours to put that application in and then see what comes of it. So, okay, that's task one for all of us. I've got a second task for you, and that is the reauthorization of the Peace Corps. The Senate is okay, and they're ready to move on it. But the House of Representatives is just plain difficult, not only for this issue, but for many, many others. And so I know that you've worked with members of the House. We're going to see if we can push it through in the final months of this session, but it's going to be a tough go. So we'll see what happens here. I want you to continue your advocacy. You have your own representative from, I don't know, let's say Indiana, or maybe it's from Georgia. But wherever you happen to be from, please reach out to your representative and encourage them, bring to their attention the reauthorization of the Peace Corps. After all, it's been more than 20 years since it's been reauthorized. And there's some very, very important reforms in there, not the least of which is the ability for student loans to be paid off by Peace Corps service. So if I can ask you to do that, we're going to make a major push in the last 4 months of this session to get that Peace Corps bill out of the House and to the President's desk. But I'm going to need your help. So 2 tasks out there for the NPCA. You're 1-to-1, excellent, let's do it. And secondly, let's talk to your own representative and encourage them to move the Peace Corps reauthorization bill along. So Patty and I, we greet you with a big hello and a shout out for the enormous work that you've done to support the Peace Corps over these many, many, well, decades now. Our work is never finished. The task of the Peace Corps will never end. There's always somewhere out there in the world that some American citizen can play a critical role in dealing with maybe a community problem or maybe an international problem. So let's go for it. Thank you so very much. Look forward to continuing to work with you.
Wow, what wonderful words. And it's, on behalf of NPCA, and I dare me say the whole community, it is really a wonderful thing to have his level of support and appreciation over the amount of years that we have. So it's just a really wonderful thing. Without further ado, I am going to, would like to introduce the chair of the board, John Lee Evans. John, take it away.
Thank you very much, Carla. Again, I would also like to welcome everybody to Peace Corps Connect 2024. This is actually going to be the last time that we do it online. We look forward to seeing everybody in person next summer in Washington, D.C. at American University. You'll hear more about that later. As Carla said, I'm John Lee Evans. I've been the board chair of NPCA for the last 2 years. I'm RPCV from Honduras, and my day job is as a clinical psychologist coming to you from San Diego, California. All of us have, or most of us have, lifelong connections with the countries where we served. And one thing that happened this year, I worked with a couple of students who were in the university when I was in Honduras many years ago. And one time when I went back, I heard that one of those young guys, Cornelio, had immigrated to the United States and maybe to New York or somewhere. I didn't really hear any more about it. But this year, through the miracles of social media and the internet, his kids did some sleuthing and found me in California. And he got in touch with me and told me he had basically immigrated to the United States, worked 2 jobs, went to community college, raised a family. His kids are doing very well. And now he became a U.S. citizen. And now he is actually interested in finding out more information about joining the Peace Corps itself. So it's this amazing story coming full circle. So we have connections with our countries of service, but we also have connections with each other, other RPCVs, regardless of what country they served in. And besides advocating for the Peace Corps, which Representative Garamendi spoke about very well, we also, our other part of our core mission is to build a strong network of RPCVs, which includes support for affiliate groups. We're doing all kinds of good work. In terms of advocacy, we're going to hear a little bit later about protect the Peace Corps. I think we realize when there's a lot of talk about isolationism that we really need to keep addressing issues on an international level. So we'll be talking more about how we can support the Peace Corps and also how you can support NPCA in supporting the Peace Corps. So now we can kind of look forward here to, if we can show the slide with the board, our current board of directors. We have a very diverse group that is on our board in terms of geography, in terms of age, ethnicity, religions, political affiliation. Just a really great group of people, a working board, and we will be telling you more about these people later on. And we also had a recent election, and we have elected 5 people in the current to the current board, which you will see on the next slide. 2 of the people were re-elected, which is Nell Todd, our governance chair, and also Christina Owens, the affiliate group committee chair. So those 2 people are added onto our board. And if we can see the next slide, it will show the other, I guess maybe it's not there right now. So I will, here we are. There's Nell and Christina. And our other 3 new members are Babila Lima, who has served in, as an RPCV from Mongolia, and also another RPCV from Mongolia, Marika Stevenson, as well as Kate Bongonas, who is an RPCV from Ecuador, who isn't able to join us today because it is currently 3 a.m. where she is in Japan, but she'll be joining us for the quarterly meeting this year. So at this point, we're going to hear a little bit of information from our committee chairs. It's just going to be very brief highlights that they're going to give us. And first of all, I will turn it over to Nell Todd, who's going to talk about the results of the reform of the bylaws.
Great. Thank you, John. And hello, everyone. I'm Nell. I was a volunteer in Ghana in the late 90s. I think I saw at least one other person from Ghana, I think, who served right after me. So nice to see you on the Zoom. I'm thrilled to be connected to this group. As John said, I joined last year. Even though I served quite some time ago, I think about the Peace Corps daily and I use it in my job all the time. So wonderful to be here. I too want to welcome the new board members, and I also want to thank all of those who ran, and I want to thank all of you who voted. It's such an important process, and I want to make sure that we continue to have more and more nominations throughout the years, and always encourage everyone to vote, because it does make sure that we are truly representing Peace Corps across not just the United States, but there are returned Peace Corps volunteers all over the world. So thank you for that. As John said, I want to make sure that we give you a quick update on a couple things that the governance committee has worked on. Specifically, we have gone through a revision of our bylaws. Many of you voted for the 2 motions that we presented to the community. So I think the first slide is a summary of the first motion, which I will go through. So if you could put up the chart. So motion 1 was to approve the changes to the bylaws. For those of you who weren't familiar with the changes, there were sort of 3 main ones. One is we wanted to make sure that we were aligning our bylaws to governance best practices with other nonprofits. We also wanted to make sure that we were elevating the role of the affiliate group. And we wanted to make sure that we were changing the at-large elections. So instead of them being geography-based, we've taken off that requirement. So that motion passed with 95%. So thank you all for that. The second motion shifts, if you want to put up the second motion moves the responsibility for updating these bylaws to the board of directors. It used to be through this whole community. So again, thank you for approving both of these motions and for taking the time to give us feedback. It'll be so helpful for the governance committee as we move forward. So with that, I will hand it over to Mike.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I am Mike Roman. 24 years ago this month, I began my journey into the Peace Corps as an education volunteer in the nation of Kiribati, and I have since been an Kiribati, not by blood, but by love, something I'm sure all of us can relate to. Today, I want to share with you the exciting steps of the National Peace Corps Association is taking to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. This initiative is about reshaping the culture within the Peace Corps community and extending it to our partners worldwide. NPCA empowers the Peace Corps volunteers, past and present, to advocate for global peace and prosperity. To embody this mission, every voice must be heard and valued, regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation, nationality, socioeconomic background, or ability. Historically, Peace Corps volunteers have been predominantly from specific demographics, but we know that diverse perspectives and inclusive environments are critical to solving complex global challenges. That's why MPCA has strongly emphasized DEI, recognizing that diversity is our strength and inclusion is our path to unity. We continue to enhance our diversity each year and eagerly anticipate that being represented on our new board as our new members join the crew. The NPCA's DEI initiatives has clear goals to increase representation, equity and opportunity, and create an inclusive culture. Initiatives and actions are some of the things that I want to talk about next. We created a DEI standing committee. NPCA has established this, and it's made up of staff, board, and community members to advocate and advance representation, programs, and structures, and ensure our practices are equitable and inclusive. Community partnerships. We intend to collaborate with affiliate groups to expand our outreach to diverse populations. Inclusive storytelling. We highlight the stories of volunteers and underrepresented backgrounds to show the vast array of experiences within Peace Corps, giving visibility to voices that haven't always been amplified. As far as current progress, so far we have seen many positive steps forward. The NPCA has increased representation within leadership roles, and our DEI committee has made several key recommendations that are now being implemented. We also look forward to forming new partnerships through the Matching Grants program that will broaden our recruitment pipeline, allowing us to reach historically underrepresented communities in the Peace Corps. In conclusion, the NPCA's commitment to DEI is not just a one-time effort, it's an ongoing journey, and we aim to create a Peace Corps community that truly reflects the diversity of the world we serve. By fostering inclusivity, we can empower volunteers to make an even more significant impact locally and globally. Thank you for your time. And now to my good friend, Jim Baldwin, for a quick overview of the organization's financials. Off to you, Jim.
Yeah, love that, Mike. Really appreciate it. Yeah, good afternoon, RPCVs. Yeah, it's good to be here again. This is my second year doing this little presentation. Yeah, as Mike mentioned, I'm Jim Baldwin, the board treasurer. And I sit here just outside of Chicago, where my day job is a CFO of Chicago's largest nonprofit human services agency. But most importantly, I'm an RPCV from Azerbaijan from 2010 to 2012. And really, just a few minutes here just to give a brief snapshot on just NPCA's financial health. So if we kind of fast forward, I've just got a few slides just to kind of show that. What's in front of your eyes right now on the screen is a snippet of our current audit. The date's on top, so this is our balance sheet, for at the end of last year and the year before. Really, I kind of highlighted in the orange there of what the telling story is. Because the past few years, NPCA, wasn't in the best financial health, but in that last calendar year, as you can see, a negative number turning into a positive number, things turn around into much nicer pastures. It wasn't the easiest thing to do, but credit to new leadership for trying to get NPCA financials back on track. And as we flip to this next page, here's kind of the situation right now into our current year. From the slide before, right, we kind of got things positive, but we're a little behind in this current year. It was a balanced budget that rolled out, but contributions, are lagging a bit. So as we sit here today, we're a little behind. As you can see, the very bottom left of a slight deficit position of $179,000. It's not the end of the world. Usually there's some timing. It's very cyclical at NPCA, where end of the year donations is the biggest time. But not to underscore, right, everyone's support would be very welcome, as even on a year-by-year basis, we're behind as far as the typically of what contributions come in for NPCA. And just on the last slide, just going to touch on some just big themes in case you're wondering. That first bullet, yeah, things have been turned around, but we sure don't want to lose momentum. So keep those contributions rolling in. Things have been nice. We've kind of like upgrades the past couple of years, even a third-party outside firm to do NPCA's books to kind of keep things on the straight and narrow. In green, nice little highlight, even through all that, some nice upgrades made in a CRM, or customer relationship management system. It's nice just to try and keep all the RPCVs together into one system. It's actually pretty hard to do with all the groups. But those upgrades, very important to kind of keep things moving well. And that's kind of about it. So the kind of like the big takeaway, if you listen to nothing else, NPCA on stable footing, but we want to keep the momentum going and kind of keep moving forward. And with that, yeah, I believe, yeah, maybe as not of a nice as a handoff as Mike gave me, but I think this is going back to John, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, good looking picture. John, baton back to you.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. So as you can see, we have a working board. We've heard from governance and finance and the DEI committees. A couple other committees are fundraising, of which Jeffrey Janis is the chair. I just want to say that in terms of fundraising, the board itself is very involved. All the members of the board are also Shriver Circle donors at this point. But we'll hear more about fundraising when we hear from the staff side. And then in another committee that we'll hear from later is about the Standing Committee for Affiliate Groups. We've elevated the role of committees, we've elevated the role of affiliate groups in NPCA. Before it was simply an advisory committee. Now it's actually a standing committee of NPCA, of the board. And so it consists of board directors elected by the members, as well as affiliate group leaders. So we'll be hearing more about that later in the day. So we have a pretty large board, and we have a very small staff to carry out our mission of building an RPCV and affiliate network and advocating for the Peace Corps. And heading up that effort is our president and CEO, Dan Baker, who will be taking over now.
Thank you very much, John. Great job with the board. And I do need to recognize, I know it's already been done, but we would not be where we are today without the NPCA Board of Directors. This is very much a working board. And as you see in the slides, they outnumber, I'm going to go to the next slide, by the way. The board outnumbers, no, back one. The board outnumbers the staff by a factor of 2. We have, thanks to the board, I think we have a very strong direction financial security is ensured and monitored. It is a very well-funded, potentially well-funded organization and governed, thanks to the board, and increasingly a diverse network that we're supporting, and that is again many thanks to the board's leadership. But we also have a very strong staff, and now you can go to the next slide. Small but mighty. I think a lot of these faces are familiar to many of you. We are going to hear from a few of these individuals today. You've already heard from Carla, and I do need to just land on her new position for a moment. Carla joined the team 6 months ago as really the external face for many of you of National Peace Corps Association. You heard from her. She has a very long and great experience managing international programs in a senior leadership role, and she's providing a lot of the support that we need, and indeed we're missing since Ann Baker's departure a couple of years ago. And I also want to welcome to our team this year, Travis Matthews, and you'll see Travis a lot in the chat today. Thank you, Travis, for providing some discussion prompts. Travis joined in March also as our development manager, and has put into place an infrastructure, a platform for the future of NPCA. I think it's no small feat what he's done in the last 6 months. Very impressed by these 2 new hires, and really pleased with the entire team right now. I won't go through everybody. We can go on to the next slide. I wanted to start with just a reflection from this week. And as we all know, Wednesday was 9/11, the 23rd anniversary of the attacks in New York and Washington. And I reflect on where I was in 2001. Here's a picture of me, and as I began my 3rd year in Bolivia. And this was one of the most profound moments of my Peace Corps service. And it really opened up a lot of realizations for me at the moment. And just a quick story here. I was walking to work. I was in my 3rd year helping to manage the Peace Corps office in the city of Sucre. If you've been there, beautiful morning, walking through the White City, it's called, with terracotta roofs, and passing people amiably on the street until I got to the office, where I was greeted by my coworker, Bolivian coworker, who had a great relationship with Ignacio, Nacho Duarte. And Ignacio welcomed me to the office, and there was a look in his eyes, and he told me something terrible has happened. Algo terrible sucedió en tu país. And he was listening to the radio, and I walked in just in time to hear about the 2nd plane hitting the World Trade Center. We spent the next couple of days trying to contact all of the Peace Corps volunteers in the rural Chuquisaca region of Bolivia. Nacho went on his personal motorcycle overnight to a volunteer that we couldn't reach, who was from New York. We didn't know, from New York City, who we couldn't contact, to let her know what happened so she could contact her family. Arrived in the middle of the night after contacting her. And for the next couple of days, as I walked around the streets and reflected, we all remember this. My experience is not unique, by the way. Many thousands of us have these shared experiences, Peace Corps volunteers, but I had never felt a sense of a connection with people in Bolivia. Everyone knew what had happened. Everyone neighbors who I'd never met were coming up to me and extending friendship and condolences. I didn't know anyone, wasn't directly impacted by 9/11. No one I knew was affected, but the feeling of support and friendship and camaraderie that I felt in those days was really powerful. I felt for the first time a real sense of pride that I hadn't felt before for Peace Corps and democracy, and I guess you could call it a sense of patriotism. And I felt like this for the first time. I was a good volunteer, but I was really feeling like what I was doing in that moment was important. And it was those things that, as I was reflecting this week, I was like, this really is what we are. These takeaways from 9/11 for me in Bolivia are what we're still trying to do at MPCA. So if you advance, Orrin, um, why MPCA? NPCA for me, and I think for many of us, is increasingly the platform for the global Peace Corps network. With nearly 45 years of experience, we are helping to unite a voice of many hundreds of groups and initiatives, of which we are supportive, to a network of greater opportunities. And every one of these initiatives wants to connect to the larger Peace Corps community. It's a network that could be so much greater. It's great already, but it could be so much greater with a strong NPCA. And that's, for me, the bottom line. The core mission of NPCA is uniting a vibrant community, and indeed, that's our mission. But for me, and again, coming back to my takeaways from my Peace Corps service on 9/11, our first mission, our first pillar for what NPCA exists to do is to champion peace and friendship on the hills and the halls of Congress, and to provide Peace Corps not only with the financial resources, but the legislative tools and the feedback and the opportunity to grow and improve. And that, I know, is what many of you think of. By the way, I would love to see in the chat as we go through these, and when you think of NPCA and what its potential and possibility is, what are a couple of words that you think of when you think of what the value of NPCA is or could be. I'd love to reflect back on this after the meeting and see what you all put into the chat. Um, so the other, again, the 9/11 takeaway was we were building bridges when the rest of the world was, or the rest of our government was not, in the wake of 9/11. And this really was a source of pride for me at the time, and remains a sense of pride for me today, that MPCA exists to build bridges for diverse partnerships and common causes. We'll talk more today about our affiliate group network, and when we talk about the impact of our collective community, first thing that comes to mind we'll talk about is some of our groups. Promoting service is, and my takeaway again was, I felt like what I was doing was meaningful, and something clicked for me that day, 23 years ago, that even after 2 years of service, this is my life. This is something and again, not unique. This is something that I needed to devote the rest of my life to, is service, building friendships, and providing opportunities, and supporting people who are trying to make a difference in the world, especially supporting RPCVs. These takeaways for me represent the three pillars of NPCA. John is already echoing what John said, and this is essentially the outline, the framework for what we're talking about today. You've already heard about our strong organizational foundation. We could be much stronger with more financial resources. We have plans to do that. We need to diversify, but we absolutely need your support to build this network. So let's go on to the next slide. I'll just touch quickly on a couple of things, and then I would like for you to hear from the rest of the team. And I would like to land here. The network that works for you is really what we're doubling down on. This is the message that we are giving to would-be and current and returning Peace Corps volunteers. The NPCA is a network that you can be a part of. We provide essentially a support network for you when you return. This is an important message for people who are considering what value Peace Corps will have for them in the rest of their lives. What support will they have when they come back? And for us to exist and to be strong, we provide that network. plan is to develop and build on the foundation that we've put in place with our new database tools to create a online platform that will be world-class and offer the abilities to network seamlessly. And we're happy to engage with anybody interested in it as we move forward with those plans. So thank you. We are a network that works for you. Next. We will hear from a Peace Corps recruiter today, a senior Peace Corps recruiter, Amy, and she will talk about the Each One Reach One campaign. I did want to say it's not hard. When Amy comes on, Jonathan and I and our intern Cynthia, you see in the picture there, this was just from 6 days ago, held a booth in Tacoma Park, Maryland. We had 100 or more visitors over the course of a few hours. It wasn't that hard to get a booth at a festival, to print out some copies of some materials. If you want some copies of Worldview, if you want some ideas, we're happy to share it with you. At a minimum, if you look at the back page of your last issue of Worldview, there's a poster that you can cut out. And that's what's represented on the left side of your screen there. Look for this Worldview cover, flip it over on the back, cut it out, put it in your local post office, put it somewhere public so that people can see and just have that idea of Peace Corps somewhere public. That's, I think, the least that we can ask of everyone, but we will also challenge you to actually recruit one person, and Amy will be talking more about that later. Next. So just to land quickly, for the affiliate group network, the meeting will begin, our annual affiliate group network meeting will begin approximately 4:30. We'll see how we're doing on time. Hopefully we can start a little earlier, but stay tuned. I did want to highlight for a moment, though, these are the represented on your screen here are the affiliate groups who are, you don't have to be have served in a specific country or be from a specific area to be a part of these. These are groups that are looking for anybody and everybody who served in Peace Corps. Many are looking for anybody, regardless of whether or not you're an RPCV, to get involved. We'll hear from the museum a little bit later, and then the Women of Peace Corps Legacy. Always happy to have them participating in our events. There are a number of ways to get involved and very impactful ways to make a difference in our world and to help support the Peace Corps and remind everyone that Peace Corps is an important American institution. Next. Outside of these affiliate groups, NPCA has great partnerships with some external partner organizations, many of whom you see there are household names. I want to call out in particular ACDI VOCA, and with whom we have a farmer to farmer program. This is a USAID subaward that is we are just getting into this year and we're building upon, but already we've placed a few farmers in Central Asia. Ava Sundgrens is helping to lead that program on our team. We also have a partnership with IREX, where we're helping with essentially a kind of a reverse Peace Corps. Leaders from different regions of the United States come through IREX exchange programs, usually State Department programs, and we have a State Department subaward there to support leaders coming from many Peace Corps countries. And we're helping IREX identify as much as we can opportunities for internships and host families while these global leaders are visiting the United States. I figure the best person to talk about advocacy is someone who probably needs no introduction. Jonathan Pearson has done some incredible things during extraordinarily difficult times in Washington, D.C. And Jonathan, I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit more. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dan. And hi, everybody. I'm Jonathan Pearson, the Advocacy Director. I served as a Peace Corps volunteer in the Federated States of Micronesia in the late 1980s. It's good to be with all of you here today. And I especially want to thank all of you who have advocated with us in the past. And we've been building a network, as this slide shows, over time. Our letter writing software has nearly 30,000 people who have, at one point or another, sent a message to members of Congress. In recent years, we've been ramping up our efforts to have advocates write op-eds and letters to the editor. And those op-eds and letters to the editor have had the potential of reaching as many as 10 million people around the country. But we're still scratching the surface, and there's still room for growth, and we need to grow, and we need you to help us do that. So this was part of our effort. Always in March, we are on Capitol Hill during our National Days of Advocacy for our Capitol Hill Advocacy Day. And earlier today, it was so great to hear from Representative Garamendi. And he's been our Peace Corps champion in the House of Representatives for the past 12 years. But in a moment, we're going to hear from two new members of Congress, one of them a Republican, one a Democrat, demonstrating that bipartisan support for the Peace Corps among new members remains strong. Earlier, Representative Garamendi gave us two calls to action, expanding recruitment efforts and passing the Peace Corps Reauthorization Act. And the third challenge we want to offer you is that we need and we have a chance to secure a significant Peace Corps funding increase in the next fiscal year. So staying on this slide right here, this is from our March activities on Capitol Hill. And these are some of the members of the New York RPCVs who came to town. And that one of the people that they had meeting with was staff of the office of freshman Republican Representative Mike Lawler. And in the weeks that followed, at least 20 of his constituents responded to NPCA calls to action and asked him to support the Peace Corps. And as the image on the next slide shows, this is a picture in June when Representative Lawler took to the House floor and introduced a successful amendment which would avoid a $20 million cut in funding for the Peace Corps in the upcoming fiscal year. So he introduced an amendment not to cut funding for the Peace Corps, and it passed. So as an emerging supporter of the Peace Corps, we asked Representative Lawler to share some thoughts with you today.
Thank you to the National Peace Corps Association for putting together this conference, for inviting me to join you, and for all that you do to support this vital organization. American soft power is an essential tool in the tool chest of what former Defense Secretary Robert Gates referred to as America's Symphony of Power. When President John F. Kennedy signed the Peace Corps into existence on March 1st, 1961, in a time of escalating Cold War tensions, he said that it was designed to permit our people to exercise more fully their responsibilities in the great common cause of world development. Just weeks earlier, in his inaugural address, President Kennedy compelled Americans to ask not what their country can do for them, but what they can do for their country. Since the inception of the Peace Corps, more than 240,000 Peace Corps volunteers have done exactly that, serving in over 140 countries around the world. Many go on to incredible careers in public service and continue to give back to their communities and our country. Thousands of Americans serve in the Peace Corps each year, and I've heard the testimonies firsthand from many of my own constituents who have done so and shared with me how much an impact they are making in their host countries. The Peace Corps represents the best of America. It embodies our spirit and our generosity. It helps build communities across the globe and expose them to the good that America does. These initiatives are more crucial than ever in today's hostile world, where American soft power must be at the forefront of pushback against authoritarian regimes like Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. For these reasons, I was proud to introduce an amendment to increase funding to the Peace Corps. This investment is a commitment to our nation's values and our role on the global stage, and we must not back away from that. By ensuring the Peace Corps receives this vital funding, we ensure sustained American leadership and goodwill, enhancing our nation's legacy of making a positive impact. As we consider the challenges and opportunities before us, I will continue working with my colleagues on the House Foreign Affairs Committee and members of Congress in both parties to ensure the Peace Corps is equipped to continue its mission and that future generations of Americans are able to heed its founder, President John F. Kennedy's call to put country before self through selfless service to the advancement of peace, prosperity, and democratic ideals worldwide.
So the next photo that we're going to see brings us to the United States Senate. And the picture in the upper right corner is from a few years back with Maine returned Peace Corps volunteers meeting with their senator, Susan Collins. The Maine RPCVs have developed a great, strong relationship with Senator Collins, who is now the highest ranking Republican on the Senate Appropriations Committee. And now, as the House is recommending level funding for the Peace Corps in the upcoming fiscal year, the Senate Appropriations Committee is going a step further, a really strong bipartisan vote recommending a nearly $50 million increase for the Peace Corps in the next fiscal year. So the next slide puts forth the challenge, the opportunity, our key task ahead when it comes to Peace Corps funding. The House and Senate are going to have to reconcile this $50 million difference in the coming weeks and months. And our message needs to be support the Senate funding recommendation for the Peace Corps. And this effort is already underway. Here's a photograph just 10 days ago. The Hawaii RPCVs met with Congressman Ed Case in his district office. Representative Case, he's a really strong supporter of the Peace Corps, and he's a member of the House Appropriations Committee. And at this meeting, Representative Case gave a strong pledge of support to support that higher Senate Peace Corps funding number. As we go to the next slide, we want to close with another new member of Congress. Now, normally, when we're working or advocates are working, we have to reach out to offices to ask for meetings. But just 2 months ago, the office staff of Texas Representative Jasmine Crockett requested a meeting with NPCA because of their interest in hearing more about key Peace Corps issues. It was a really great meeting that we had. And from that meeting, we asked Representative Crockett to share some remarks with you today.
Hello, Peace Corps. This is Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, and it's a privilege to be asked to speak with all of you at the National Peace Corps Association. I am so disappointed that I can't be with you in person today, but I am currently stuck in Washington fighting to keep the government open and properly fund the programs that support the diplomatic and humanitarian efforts of organizations like yours. It's been said that war is the failure of diplomacy. But looking around the world today, I would add that humanitarian action is just as critical to achieving and maintaining peace. When people are suffering from violence and deprivation, conflicts arise more quickly and become more entrenched. Peace Corps volunteers like you help remove the kindling before war can erupt, improving living conditions and saving lives. Recently, I visited Belgium, Kenya, and Tanzania as part of a congressional delegation trip to Europe and the Horn of Africa. On this trip, I was able to see for myself the impacts of the women's empowerment initiatives and investments organizations like the Peace Corps are involved in throughout the Horn of Africa, and how empowering women as peace builders in these communities helps to diffuse conflict and increase economic development. This is the impact of the Peace Corps, and it's why we must support this organization with the funding and resources it needs to return to pre-pandemic levels of recruitment. As wars rage on and authoritarian powers grow bolder, the role of the Peace Corps is ever more vital. We need you stronger than ever and ready to rise to the next decades of global challenges. And I will be at your back to make sure you have the support you need. Thank you for your service and your sacrifice.
So happy to be here with all of you. Again, Travis, Peace Corps Namibia, 2016 to 2018. Happy to present to all of you. We only have 5 minutes, so please bear with me. Just 5 minutes set aside to really talk about our fundraising efforts. I know Jim mentioned it a bit, Dan and John, but of course, as we are operating as an organization, this is important for us, our survival, and for us to continue the work that we're doing. So just bear with me for just a second. You can go ahead, Orrin. So really want to highlight some of the numbers. This was talked about a little bit by Jim. So total donations received year to date last year in 2023. This is what you're seeing now. So you saw that we had close to $500,000 generated between January 1st and the end of August in 2023. And we are a bit below that, as you can see on the screen. I also included here the number of donors and the number of donations, so you could see exactly how many people are contributing as annual mission partners to NPCA. You could see in the end of the year, from September 1st to the end of the year, in the bottom slide, part of the slide, that our donations ramp up significantly towards the end of the year. And so right now we're really in this peak donation time. We do have a $1 million fundraising goal. We do receive most of our funding from contributions from our community in the form of donations. To highlight what Jim did mention, that our operating costs are approximately $1.6 million annually, and so we really do hope to cover a lot of that through our donations. To get to where we want to get to, we do have some work to do, but we're not too far off from getting that goal versus where we were last year, but we really do need to ramp up. So you could see that in the first 8 months of 2023, we had close to 2,400 donations, and we finished close to 4,400. So really hoping that we can get to that level and exceed that, and I'll be talking about that in a little bit, and really reaching out to all of you and our community at large to see what we can do to get to that point. So moving on, why would someone donate to NPCA? Well, what does your money mean for an organization like us? And truly, we're only as strong as the support that we receive. We have so many ideas. As Dan mentioned, we have an eager and excited team and a very ambitious board. And the generosity our community gives to us is what helps us as a organization to help our RPCV community thrive. We are advocating for a bigger and better Peace Corps. It is no surprise, and well, I guess it goes without saying that the work that Jonathan and his team are doing, the advocacy team, are a cornerstone, a foundation for what NPCA is doing, and they can only do that work with the support of our team. We are celebrating and mobilizing our dedicated, impactful affiliate group network, close to 150 groups operating all across the country, and I'm so honored in this role to hear all the amazing stories that you all share about the work that your groups are doing, both creating personal and professional connections. And it is not an uncommon story for me to hear, as it is with my life, that Peace Corps completely transformed us, helped us in our professional development, our personal development, pushed us outside of our comfort zone. And for folks like myself, who met my spouse while in service, as well as my children that have come out of that experience, that's not a unique and uncommon story. So we're really doing our best to amplify and elevate that for our affiliate groups. We're trying to provide more guidance to future Peace Corps volunteers, helping out with this Each One Reach One campaign, and really ensuring that people that are moving into this part of their lives have the right resources and the right tools to get themselves into that space. We heard yesterday on our call yesterday that there are a lot of future volunteers that are concerned with the services of mental health, and I think that NPCA can really support what that heavy lift is for volunteers entering into the field. We are excited to offer more reentry services to returning volunteers, as were done in COVID, creating stronger personal and professional connections, sustaining lifelong benefits to RPCVs. So we are actively looking to see what we can do to make sure that RPCVs, when they come back from the field, are able to see a lifetime of benefit from their service. And of course, with our communications team, as you all receive our e-news and read our Worldview magazine, we are doing absolutely everything we can to bring Peace Corps stories to life. We all have, it's preaching to the choir that we are the ones that have all the amazingly positive things to say about Peace Corps. It's sometimes our voices are not as strong as those that might have differing views. And so the stronger we are as an organization, the more we can amplify and elevate those voices. I do have a badge that's just up here on the screen, just so you could see. NPCA is doing our best also to stay within every regulation and guideline that's available to us. It's not that we're just out here doing whatever we can with whatever we have available. We are recognized as one of the certified best charities to work with America's Best Charities. And so leading into that, want to just segue in, or you could pop up the next slide on what we would do with your support. So we're really hoping, really pushing for a strong end of the year and to begin 2025 in a very positive position. If we could have, of our entire Peace Corps community, right? We have 250,000 volunteers that have gone through the program. If we could have 5,000 sustaining mission partners at $50 a year, that is, I don't think, a heavy lift, but something we would absolutely be essential for us to know that we can continue on this work and not have to worry about the day-to-day, where are we going to find the next dollar? We are hoping to have 250 Shriver leaders, Shriver Circle members in 2025. This was last achieved in 2021. And we do average over the last 5 years, 217 Shriver Circle members. So if you are ready to commit at that level and commit to sustaining NPCA as a really committed member at the Shriver level, we encourage you to consider. And I will drop some links in the chat where you can find more information about that. If you are interested in giving, we also have introduced throughout this last year a variety of new tools and IT software in order to make your giving more enjoyable and more impactful for yourself and for our organization. We have, as Jim mentioned, a brand new enhanced IT software to best engage our members. We do have a new partnership with an organization called Double the Donation. For any of you that work for a doubling donation matching organization, we really easily facilitate that so you can donate at your level and then submit your matching request to your employer, and then they can match the donation as well. For those of you that are retired, there are even organizations that match on retired employees. So it's not something that you are excluded from. We have introduced a really easy and streamlined tool for stock donating. I will post the links in the chat when I'm done speaking with all of you. Anyone that wants to contribute from their stock portfolio, there are a lot of amazing tax benefits for doing so, and NPCA is a really great vehicle for those. And with this new stock donating tool, it makes it really easy for anybody that is interested in doing so. Our new software allows for easy online donations, both one-time and recurring. If you want to support NPCA on a recurring basis, we have that set up really easily for you. And also, as mentioned with the badge in the previous slide, our participation in the combined federal campaign, America's Best Charities, for any matching through government employers, as well as other nonprofit fundraising mechanisms. We are actively trying to be in front of and involved with every opportunity for us to raise money. So if there is a vehicle that you use for donating to nonprofits and you don't see NPCA listed, please get in touch with me and let me know. I'm doing my best to stay on top of that, but maybe there's other ways that we can engage and reach our community. So with that said, we really encourage you to support our mission. Thank you for everyone that is supporting us, all of our Shriver Leader Circle members, everyone that has stayed with NPCA over the years. We are working for every donation that we receive, and we are very, very busy every day earning your trust and making sure that we are delivering the best services to our PCV community. So with that, thank you for your time. Thanks for being here. And then back to Dan.
Thank you, Travis. Great job. And I think you all can agree that the two new staff that you've heard from today are great new hires. I do want to make a couple of notes on fundraising. We do have there was a new law passed in California, I believe it was last year, and we are being required to reapply for a nonprofit status with the state tax franchise tax bureau. So there is a workaround on our website if you're in California and you can't donate through the give page. If you just look at the top of the website under give, there's a different way to submit your donation. I just want to make sure that California residents are aware. I saw a note in the chat about that. And another thing I want to just kind of reflect on before moving ahead from last night, I hope most of you were able to catch Carol Spahn's remarks. I think what you would have seen if you were there is an agency that is really looking forward and looking at the potential for innovation and being an organization that meets everyone where they're at, not necessarily just stuck in the old way of doing things. I would like to think and suggest that MPCA is doing the same thing. We are very much looking forward with new systems, new programs. We're keeping some of the favorite standbys. But Travis mentioned, for example, Worldview. We're going to be hearing in just a few minutes from Worldview editor Robert Nolan about some of the excellent innovations that he's developed for making the magazine more accessible to all generations and all users, readers of Worldview. Stay tuned for that. Advocacy is now open to many different populations and accessible to anyone, no matter where they are, as are the group meetings and networks. So with that, I would like to just pat ourselves on the back for a second because we are almost 10 minutes ahead of schedule. This is definitely not where we were this time last year. So good job, team, so far. This concludes the annual general membership meeting portion of the event today, but the program is yet to come. And I'd like to invite Carla back on to talk a little bit more about the rest of the program and introduce the next speaker. Thanks, Carla.
Thanks, Dan. Wow, there's been so much said, and it's just such a rich conversation. I must say I'm enjoying it. I hope others are. I would like to take, since we are ahead of time, Dan, I'm going to ask for a little bit of grace here to just really acknowledge how much information that's been given around one particular topic, and that's the value of our collective voice. When you hear about the things that Jonathan mentioned, and when you hear that we have both Republican and Democrat young senators who are committed to our mission and to the values that Peace Corps represents, it is just an exciting time. So I think it is a moment for us to just recognize the importance and the value of our collective voice, and looking at and supporting and reaffirming. The more we work together and the more we can amplify that, dare I say, the better the world will be. So really a pat on everyone's back here, and a recognition of the importance of that collective, our ability to talk in a collective way on our values. I also think it's great that Mike came up and mentioned the question of diversity. Again, I don't know if there's any organization that can speak about diversity in the way that Returned Peace Corps volunteers can, having spent times in different parts of the world and learning different languages and having to live through different experiences. It's just something I want to highlight and reaffirm how important and how valuable our experiences are, and our ability to commit to making sure that collective knowledge is presented to a larger audience is just so important. And I think that's a big part of the role when we're talking about a network that works for you. So now I'll get off my soapbox, and I'll begin the second part, which is really a program that is focused on recruitment. And it's an exciting moment. We are going to have a gentleman by the name of Campbell Martin to come up and talk to us. And why this is a really exciting moment is because he's one of the first to come back post-pandemic. We all know that Peace Corps had to bring everyone home, so it took a bit of time to get volunteers back into the field. So it's really an exciting moment for us to have someone who just returned a couple of months ago to be able to talk to us about his experience. Just a little background information. He's a graduate of the University of California with bachelor's degree in political science. So I'm sure our California groups are excited to know that they had somebody. You're among the first. It's always nice to be kind of seen as some ways a legacy. He worked in a rural village in the Gambia as a primary teacher trainer. And he ran multiple secondary programs, including doing some videos for NPCA, so people may know the face. He has been, he was, while at UCLA, he was working with somebody that many of you may know, Jeffrey Janis, a campus recruiter who's from the Ukraine. He's also, Jeffrey is also on the NPCA board. So Jeffrey and Campbell have stayed in touch throughout his Peace Corps experience. So we are excited that the two of them will be able to engage in a dialogue and bring us closer to the new, if you will, the new Peace Corps post-pandemic. So without further ado, let me pass the mic over to Campbell and to Jeffrey and welcome you both here.
Thank you so much. All right, so Campbell, I think you're still muted, it looks like.
How about now? Am I verbal?
No. Perfect. All right. Hello, everyone. So it is truly my honor to be able to talk to Campbell. As Carla says, I actually met Campbell about 5 years ago, and he had applied to Peace Corps during COVID in early 2021 and did not get in until 2022 and then left in June of 2022. So he just came back in July, and he is a rock star, and I'm thrilled to have him. So I'm just going to ask him some quick questions. I'm going to do about 10 minutes of questions with him, and then we will open it up to questions in the chat box. So first question, so Campbell, I'm curious how you think that your experience was different from other RPCVs who went pre-pandemic.
Sure. First of all, hi, Jeff, and everybody else. Really excited to be here. Thank you for having me. As for how my experience might be different to folks from before the COVID times, I think I actually came up with this from something, Jeff, you said to me, which was your experience of COVID, having been a volunteer, was like, oh, this is not as big of a deal. Like you've dealt with like the isolation stuff before, but you had said like, oh, I have all these amenities around me. And so I came at it from the reverse end of things, where COVID was real tough and definitely had those feelings of isolation and feeling a little bit restricted in what I was able to do. So that when I went into service, although the amenities looked much different, the environment looked much different, this wasn't my first time encountering like, serious isolation. It was a different kind for sure, but it was still kind of an interesting preparation. And that's something that I think, current and future volunteers, they're going to have that resilience coming in that maybe folks pre-COVID may not have had.
Great. So as I said, you've been back. I think you came back, I know it was early July. Curious, how has your readjustment been going? What has that been like for you?
Yeah, I was very lucky that mom and dad are putting me up, so I was able to go straight back home. They they had like my favorite foods ready for me when I got back, so I was very lucky for that. I found like the reverse culture shock to be pretty profound, and especially just in like those knee-jerk reactions, just those like customs that I trained myself on every day. Like Gambia is 95% Muslim, so I learned to say inshallah, which translates to God willing. And so like I'd be with my Christian American friends and I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll be over at your house, at 2:00, inshallah. They'd be like, what? And I said, oh, I'll be there at 2:00, right? And so unlearning all of that. Eye contact was another big thing. It's pretty rude to make eye contact with folks in the Gambia. But of course, if you're not making eye contact with folks in America, they think you look a little bit suspicious. So again, just those little subtle things that make a real difference in interactions that I had to learn going in and had to unlearn coming back out.
So with that, I'm going to throw in one kind of a side question to that. I know you were in a very, very rural area. Yeah. What was it like coming back and all of a sudden having electricity and having running water and having all of those wonderful things that we take for granted?
Well, having all those wonderful things was wonderful. But I think it made me appreciate it more. I think for a solid for the first like 4 weeks I was back. I woke up every day and I thought to myself, oh, I'm here. I'm back in the States. And just even now, like I went on a run before this call, and before Peace Corps, I wouldn't have like, been one of those people to like stop and smell the roses. But just like going out for a run and like seeing folks with whom I could speak English with and greeting folks and like having a better ability to relate to their experience. And just kind of like a better appreciation for that, I think was something that yeah. So yeah, it was nice coming back, and I think I have a greater appreciation for it now.
Great. So I'm curious, how do you think your Peace Corps experience helped to prepare you in terms of both your personally, but also career services for your next step in your life?
Yeah, I think, and I'm sure this is an experience that many RPCVs will share, I think the ability to be resilient, to be a self-starter, to be able to navigate within ambiguity, to find that inner strength, to pivot, I think is a big one. Like, one expects one project to work out. I'm sure all of us have had that experience. We went in thinking a project was going to go well, and then a wrench was thrown in and we had to pivot. And I think coming back, that's something I'm much more flexible on nowadays. And going forward into jobs, it's like, applying for jobs, I think about like, well, what if the electricity goes out in the next job that I have? And I'm like, well, you got a pen and paper? Like I can keep working. Whereas other people may not necessarily be able to pivot so quickly or have those backup options. But like I worked analog for 2 years. So I'm happy to go back to it when the time calls for it.
So, I mean, when you say that, I keep thinking to myself, so what would you say you were like before Peace Corps in terms of being flexible and going with the flow? And was that a huge shift for you, or was that an easy transition to get used to?
I think I consider myself a pretty flexible person. I think I consider myself someone who always had a plan, and I was keen to see that plan like executed. So like I was a good planner. But I was also flexible like when things came up. And then what I think Peace Corps kind of dialed that to an 11, right? And I think that speaks a lot to like the kind of people that Peace Corps accepts, and the way that those people kind of have to rely on those pre-existing skills, right? So maybe I was already pretty flexible, and then it just really, I really got to flex that muscle and practice that over the last 2 years. Not to say that if someone is very type A that they couldn't do Peace Corps, and they'll certainly learn that. But I thought I was pretty flexible before, and I learned, okay, there was a lot I could learn, and I did.
So if someone were to talk to you about doing Peace Corps and they weren't sure the impact they'd have and they didn't really know if it was worth it, what would you say to them?
I would say that a lot of strategies that you hear, the stories that people tell, the posts that you see online, or even like money raised or the amount the amount of a grant that one received, those are kind of like the big things that are very easily advertised and should be. But I found that the more meaningful thing for me was those kind of personal connections that I made with folks in my village and those little moments that I had. And I'll keep an eye on time. I can expand on that, but I'll depend on you, Jeff, for time. But those are the kind of things that like that'd be really hard to like tell people as a story. Oh, I made a really good friend in Gambia. People are like, yeah, and they wouldn't necessarily get the dynamic that I would have had with that person that was actually like really profound. And so I think people don't necessarily give credit to those personal connections, and they don't know how those connections actually affect a person maybe until years later. Maybe it's a student who is inspired to go on to 7th grade when their parents have expected them to stop at grade 6, but you don't get to see that, for example. Yeah, that's what I'd say to that.
So on that, then what would you say was your greatest success as a Peace Corps volunteer?
My greatest success, I would have to say, is only getting 3 parasites. I'm seeing some good reactions from folks with their cameras on. Thank you. But I would say, I'd say the one that was kind of the most involved in that I learned the most from was building a borehole, which is a solar powered well, in my village. So before I came, to that rural village in Gambia, the only source of clean water that they had was at the school, which was one 2,000-liter tank that was shared by the students, the teachers, and the 2 adjacent villages. And you can imagine that there was a lot of competition for water, folks that didn't get there early enough, people didn't always get as much water as they would have wanted. And so I didn't come into Peace Corps thinking I was going to build a solar powered well, a borehole. But after asking the community, across demographics, men, women, children, they're all saying, yeah, we need better water access. And so I wrote a grant through Peace Corps channels and was lucky enough to be awarded that grant. And we got that borehole built, and we established a borehole committee featuring 10 members of my village to make sure that it would survive, that the management would survive beyond me. Of the 21 compounds in the village, each one had family members show up to do the hard labor of digging the trenches to put down pipes. And even now, every month they're collecting a small donation from every household that they're putting in a newly made bank account, so that when those larger repairs need to be made, that they have that at the ready and they don't have to wait for larger collections to happen. And it was really cool just to see how folks learned and grew as leaders, and a lot of folks who I knew were very capable, but maybe they hadn't had the opportunity before. I know for one, again, I'll keep it brief, but there's this one anecdote that I have to share, that part of the grant was we trained villagers on borehole maintenance. And so we had 3 villagers, 1 man and 2 women, and gender roles can be a little bit stronger in the Gambia. And so when I sent those two women over along with the man to work with the engineers on how to put things together, take things apart. About 10 minutes later, they came up to my door and they said, Haruna, which is my Gambia name. They said, Haruna, they're not paying us any attention. And I said, got it. So I said, come with me. And we walk back over, we go over to the engineers, and I say, gentlemen, nice to meet you. My name is Haruna Kane. This is so-and-so and so-and-so. You're going to be teaching them on borehole maintenance. And I stayed with them. And by the end of the second day, the engineers were telling both the women, they were joking that you're so good, we need to take you to the capital, to our main company, to continue projects. And I was really proud that, of my partners, that they stuck with it and having that come to fruition.
So after the chat, I'll have you put in the chat box. Just so you know, Campbell did a variety of videos, and one of the videos, a couple of videos, were actually on this well that he built. My absolute favorite videos was when his mother and father and brother came to visit him. So I strongly encourage you all to watch this after this. 2 other quick questions, and then we'll open this up. I was thinking about this as we were listening earlier, which is, I'm curious, as a very recent RPCV, what do you think that we can be doing differently or better to get more RPCVs connected to NPCA?
Sure. First of all, I think you guys are doing an incredible job. I've been, watching all the sessions right before this and been really impressed with all the wonderful, programs and initiatives that you all are doing. I can only, speak for myself and my experience, but I'll take us back to my COS conference, close of service conference, which happened 2 to 3 months before my cohort left. And what I noticed is that what most folks paid attention to was what was it? The non-competitive eligibility status, 1, and scholarships for school. This is what we learned from that is what volunteers nowadays who are about to finish are paying attention to. What are they thinking about as they go back? And that's school and that's jobs. And so I think for people my age, I think meeting us meeting folks like me where we're trying to go anyway, and making those connections and connecting with folks who are looking for other folks, or just learning to readjust, connecting us with, our local chapters of NPCA in whatever area we choose to resettle into. I think we'll more easily find folks who are coming back from there.
Thank you. So I want to end on a fun note. I always like to ask kind of a fun question, which is, so talk to us about your favorite travel story, whether it be in a car, or a bus, or a train, or what's your favorite kind of fun travel story as a PCV?
Car, bus, train, luxuries, Jeffrey Janis. My primary mode of transportation was donkey cart. And I have to say, one of my favorite stories was I was going with my host mom into town. It's about a 5-mile ride on unpaved road, something I'm sure many of us are familiar with. And we're riding along in the bush, and suddenly we see a couple of like younger men just run up to us and speaking rapid Pular. That's a local language. Like, and my Pular was decent, but not good enough for that speed. So they come up to my host mom, talking rapid fire, and then they dash off back into the bush. And so I asked her, like, Nene Taco was her name. Taco, what's going on? And they're like, oh, they were cutting down wood. They were chopping down wood, and their donkey bolted. And so now it was kind of this word of mouth thing where, hey, if you see a donkey just along the road, can you send it back our way? Which is just like a scenario that I never would have expected to happen, and just the trust that folks have in each other to bring the donkey back to its owners. And then so we travel along for like another, I don't know, quarter mile, half mile, and lo and behold, we do end up seeing a donkey with another stranger who has his hands on the collar and is dragging it back towards the direction of the frantic young men that we saw earlier. And so that was just something that I never expected, that I just really like as a story. Yeah.
Thank you. So one of the questions that was in the chat that I'm seeing was at COS, or if any of your material, did Peace Corps talk about NPCA? Did they let you know that NPCA was here? Was that part of the, or did you only know about NPCA because of me?
I certainly knew more about NPCA because of our relationship, Jeff, but I think it is mentioned. I would say like many of the programs and the details aren't necessarily things that are provided at COS conference. Yeah. So certainly there's room to grow.
Great. So I was trying to look at the chats also. I'm not sure, Carla, were there anything that you saw in the chat that we want to make sure that we ask Campbell in the 2 minutes we have left, or 1 minute?
Travis is the one who's monitoring the chat, so I'll pass it over to him.
No questions thus far. We're just having a lot of fun in the chat. So if you're not there, encourage you to join us.
Okay. So give it maybe any last minute questions for him. If not, I'll say, Campbell, it's great to have you home. And I'm looking forward to seeing you. Hopefully you'll come back to LA. He's actually up in Northern California. He and I were in the chat box. He was like, oh, Garamendi's right next to my district where I live. So
Jeffrey, we do have a hand up in the chat. Sala?
looks like Sala Sweet. You want to unmute yourself?
Yes. Yes, very briefly. I'm working with somebody with Rotary to do a project in Gambia in a village, and there is a Peace Corps volunteer there. And I was wondering if you could provide your information. Maybe you could. I'm going to connect with her, and maybe you could as well.
Sure. Yeah. Let's exchange some direct messages and we can make that happen.
Okay. I put it in the chat directly to you.
Okay, cool. I'll find that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other last minute questions?
Not a last minute question, but I do have a comment. You know, I lived about 3 years in the Gambia, and frankly, it doesn't sound like it's changed too much if you're talking about all the dirt roads and stuff.
They're working on it, but you're right.
Campbell, if you can put in the chat just how to get access to all of your videos, I think people will really enjoy looking at those. They're
Absolutely, I will.
so with that, I'm not sure who I turn it back to. I guess I'm turning it back to whoever's next.
Me.
Okay.
Really, Campbell, Jeffrey, thank you very much. You know, it is we don't get many opportunities really to hear the voice of new volunteers for obvious reasons, and to have this type of exchange, I think, kind of triggers our own memories of our own personal experience, and helps us to remember why we loved it so much. So I would be remiss if I didn't say we hope that you will join NPCA, and that we hope that you join some of the local chapter in your area. I'm sure that they would be happy to have your voice, to have that knowledge, etc., and really to be able to welcome you into fold and to help you with the whole readjustment process, which is a process that lasts quite a while. So I'll end on that note with you too, and just thank you again for your support.
Thank you so much.
Okay. I am going to now make a shift, which is, I think, is interesting timing, to hear from a recruiter regional recruiter Amy Shatner, I hope I pronounced your name correctly, who is within her title, right? She does recruiting for Peace Corps, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about what it's like, experience, some of the challenges. I do not want to take your thunder, so I'm not going to say much more except for to welcome you. We are really looking to hear, hear from you. We heard from Carol yesterday. Andrew Wilson from the Third Goal also contributed. So this is a continuation of a topic that's extremely important and valuable to the members of the groups and the National Peace Corps Association. So Amy, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thanks so much, Carla. I appreciate the warm welcome. Thank you so much. Yes, you pronounced my name correctly. The one thing is that I'm no longer a recruiter. I'm a recruiter supervisor, but I was a recruiter about 15 years ago. So I work in the Office of Recruitment and hopefully can address some of the questions that are on your minds. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. Really appreciate it. I'm glad that you all heard from Carol Spahn yesterday. A little bit daunting to follow in her footsteps today, but I will do the best that I can. Thank you so much. I believe we have a slide deck. Wonderful. Okay, perfect. All right, next slide, please. We'll just start right away with my information. So although I am not a recruiter right now, I am a returned Peace Corps volunteer. So here is a picture of me in Kenya. You can't really see it clearly, but that is the U.S. Treasury check that I received as I was COSing and departing the country. I was actually there for 3 years. I extended for a 3rd year. So as it says there, and as Carla graciously introduced me, my name is Amy Shatner, she, her. I'm an RPCV, served in Kenya from 2002 to 2005, and also St. Kitts from 2011 to 2012. That was as a response volunteer. And in both cases, I served as a business volunteer. Previously, it was called Small Enterprise Development. Now it's Community Economic Development, but for short, business volunteer works also. And you can see here where I had gone to school. I'm originally from Wisconsin, went to St. Norbert near Green Bay, and then totally went to a different part of the country for grad school many years after that in Arizona. So thank you again so much for having me here. Just really wanted to let you know that I am part of that network, that 240,000 going strong, and really happy to be here with you in that capacity as well. Next slide, please. All right, each one, reach one. So I know you heard a little bit about this from Carol yesterday evening. I'm not sure if everyone was there. I'm not sure if everyone was able to attend last night, so I'm going to go over that a little bit in more detail than Carol had, and try to answer any questions that you may have. But really, we're very excited about this new campaign, which was recently launched just a couple of months ago. Next slide, please. So just to give you a little bit of background information, this is a campaign that was developed, like I said, really recently. So each one, reach one. It's also called E1R1, but that doesn't quite roll off the tongue quite as much as just each one, reach one. And yeah, just as it says, it was a campaign developed for RPCVs. We're hoping that RPCVs can help us in the recruitment initiative to recruit future volunteers. So each RPCV to reach one person, to hopefully, shepherd them through the process, to recruit them, to support them through the application process, all the way until enter on duty. So that's the hope. Initially, it was through 2024, but let's just continue right into 2025. That fiscal year is right upon us. So that is what the campaign is, just in really high level, one bullet format. We did take some steps to launch and roll out this campaign. So we developed a media package. So Peace Corps and NPCA, I was not personally involved in this, but I'm happy to share the information, developed a media package. So that consisted of a full page ad in the Worldview magazine. We'll look in the next slide once we get to that one, what that specifically looks like. There was also a newsletter takeover, a social media post, and then of course the hard print magazines were sent out to NPCA members. So whether you knew it or not, there was a media package that was created and was used to market this out. We also have a portal, so we're really happy that that is launched as well. You can see the link is there. We could also put it in the chat. I can do that when I pause. But it's really to have all of our branded assets in one place for you all to access. Staff, RPCVs, anyone interested in supporting us in recruitment events can use this portal. It's public facing. So you can access it at any time. It has several assets in there. I'll talk about that a little bit more in the next couple of slides. But really it has our branding and it has everything ready to go for you so that it's a one-stop shop and you can go to the portal and grab what you need. Next slide, please. All right, so here are some visuals. So as I mentioned, we were able to get a full page ad. So the brown screenshot, the first one there, that should be on, I don't actually have the Worldview magazine, but hopefully those of you that did receive it can see this ad on the back cover. So I believe it was sent to about 50,000 NPCA members. So hopefully some of you may have that sitting on your desk and can take a look at that as we're talking about it in real time. We also had the newsletter takeover. So you can't really see the text, but it talks about May 2024, talks about the new campaign, what exactly each one reach one is. We'll talk about the metrics a little bit in just a couple of minutes here. And then we also had social media posts. So just as it sounds, LinkedIn, Facebook. We'll talk about who was reached, which outlet was successful, and where we'll go from here with that. Next slide, please. Great. And as I mentioned, we have the portal, which this is just a screenshot of what the landing page looks like. There are actually 6 tiles total, but 3 of them are listed here. You can also see a screenshot of the flyer. So that's just a visual, which is also in the portal if you click on it. So as I mentioned, there are 6 tiles total. There is actually a video, a 2-minute tutorial once you log into the portal in the Welcome and Navigation tab. That will just kind of give you a little bit of an overview. And then there's a ton of assets, like I mentioned. We have one-pagers. We also have a slide deck presentation. So within that slide deck, it talks about the benefits of service, the benefits both during service, the benefits after service. Really very similar information to what Peace Corps volunteers are using in the field when they're speaking with leads and candidates interested in Peace Corps. We also have one-pagers, which are all ready to go for you. One-pagers about what it might be like to serve as a 50+ volunteer, what it might be like to serve as an agriculture volunteer. All of the one-pagers are ready to go for you. We also have posters. And then we have specific one-pagers talking about the 6 sectors. So as you all know, we all served in one of the sectors, and then of course there are secondary projects and third projects, and but the 6 main sectors, we have one-pagers specifically on some examples of what you may do in a health sector or what your job could be in an environmental sector. So all of that is there for you. Like I said, it really truly is a one-stop shop. We're trying to make it easy so that you can just go to the portal, grab what you need ahead of your event. Next slide, please. Oh, and I'm so sorry. I should have mentioned we will be taking questions at the end. So I am so sorry. I am not looking at the chat right now. I'm not very good at multitasking with that. But I promise I see that there are several comments. So we will get to those and we'll answer them during the questions portion. So as mentioned, we do have some metrics here about each one, reach one. The initial, well, this was provided by you, NPCA. So you'll have to let me know what is the as of date for this, but the initial metrics that we have are showing from the email blast that over 32,000 people opened the email. We have a little bit less than 2,000 clicked through. For social media, you can see here, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, you can see the numbers of likes and reposts. So we really are getting traction on this. And as I mentioned previously, the Worldview magazine was mailed out to at least 50,000 NPCA members, if not more. And then from the Peace Corps side, each one reach one, the campaign itself is actually run by our Office of Communications. So this data point is from their office. We've had just about 800 downloads and almost 3,000 asset views. So that was in the portal that we were just speaking about, RPCVs who have accessed that to gather items that they need ahead of their event. I will just say for the metrics that we are exploring ways to better track and share. So that's something that we're working on, but we are really pleased up to this point that we feel that it has been a good start and we've been receiving positive feedback. So we feel that we're off to a good start, really just getting the message out there with step one. And but we know that there's more work to do with tracking and hearing about the stories of the RPCVs that are out there and what they're doing and what that reaches, so that we can gather that metric as well to know how effective this is. Okay, next slide, please. Great. So I'm going to just jump in a little bit more now onto the recruitment side of things. That was more kind of the marketing and what RPCVs can do. And now I'm going to talk about what recruiters are doing writ large, of course. Next slide, please. And I will just mention, the first bullet here is reach out to your recruiter. I will say that when we are fully staffed, we have about 70 recruiters posted throughout the countries in various duty stations. We have our director of recruitment, Judy Torres, who several of you may know. We also have 7 supervisors. I'm one of 7, and each supervisor has approximately 10 recruiters. So as I mentioned, when we're fully staffed, we have about 70 people in the field. We are not fully staffed right now. That's something we're working really hard to do. We're interviewing and we're, trying to select as many candidates as possible to fill those vacancies. So that is something that we're actively in the process of. But if you scan the QR code, that's going to go to our Connect with the Recruiter page. So once you go to that page, there will be 2 prompts. So it will say, are you interested in the Peace Corps Volunteer 2-year program? Or are you interested in the Peace Corps Response Program? So you select whichever option you're interested in, then it will take you to a prompt for your zip code, and then it will ask you for your contact information. So if there is someone from the general public just going to this public-facing website, that's what you will be asked for. If you scan the QR code, it goes to the same page, but we also have listed out the URL link there as well. So like I said, if you reach out to your recruiter, it is possible now, like I said, if we do have a vacancy in a specific city, I will guarantee you that we do have coverage for that city. It's just that it's taking place remotely from a recruiter in a different part of the country. But all of our duty stations are still being covered, and we're doing the best we can, like I said, with backfilling for those vacancies. So really, I would suggest that as a step one, reach out to your recruiter, see what they have on the docket. We're just starting the fall semester, or actually we're a couple of weeks into it now, depending on where we are in the country. Some schools started in late August, and we're starting to attend career fairs. All of the buzz of the fall semester is already starting. In fact, today is also the first stop. We're very excited about this, our HBCU tour. So today is the kickoff at MetLife Stadium, which I may pivot over to right after this meeting. It's the first HBCU game against Morehouse and Howard. So that, I believe, the kickoff may have just happened around the 3 o'clock hour. So we're really happy. We have 15 stops of the tour lined up, and this is stop 1. So we're very happy about that. And so that's just an example of reach out to your recruiter, see what might be happening in their territory and what you might be able to get involved in. And that's a great segue into supporting events. So whether this is on a college campus or whether this is in a community, some of the popular events that we do have on our schedules, one is Welcome Back Send-Off Party. And I will say, last year they were just called send-off parties because we didn't have volunteers. We weren't welcoming anyone back quite yet, but now we are. We are now welcoming our PCVs back. And so we are resuming the name of Welcome Back Send-Off Parties. We have also developed an SOP for any RPCV groups that are interested in attending with your local recruiter, or any RPCV groups maybe that are interested in hosting them. We're going to talk about that in the next slide, though, more details about that specifically, since Third Goal did have an info session on that particular topic. So with the Welcome Back Send-Off Parties, it's really a great way to recognize those who are recently returned. But also it's recognizing those invitees who may soon be departing, and their family and their friends and the RPCV community that exists in that part of the country. We just had a recent welcome back send-off party. Well, I guess it wasn't so recent now. But it was in April, and we were really happy to have that in New York City, specifically at NYU, which is a partner school for us. We have a strat at NYU, and we were able to host the event before the end of the semester ended. So we really were able to speak with current students, but also those who were recently invited and departing, and then work with the RPCV community to collaborate on that. Also, June, well, in most parts of the country, not all, but June is a common time for Pride festivals. And I'll use New York again as an example. We collaborated with the RPCV group, and we participated in the Pride Parade. We had our banner, and we were walking through Midtown Manhattan, handing out our swag, and we received new beautiful promo items this year that we were able to hand out to those who attended the parade. And actually, just last week, we had another Pride Parade in Vermont, Burlington, Vermont. So like I said, Pride does fluctuate just based on where you are in the country. I think they celebrate in Atlanta in October. So just an example of another way that you can get involved with your RP or with your local recruiter to see what they might be doing in not only college campuses, but also in the community. And then there are community festivals. A couple of weeks ago, I was just participating in Harlem Day. It was actually the 50th anniversary, so that was really exciting. We had our table, we had all of our materials and our swag with us, and we're able to talk to community members in Harlem. And so, you know, we do that across the city. Recruiters do that across their territories. So there are multiple ways really to join us at these events. And of course, the key is that, you know, it's easy to mention these and publicize them through our PCV groups. So now kind of pivoting a little bit into universities and colleges. So alumni connections are so important. If you're an alumni, which you may be, you have an alma mater, and if you want to get involved and if you'd be interested in maybe joining the recruiter at a career fair, like I said, now is the time. We're starting to attend them. Last week was really the first week where we had kind of a full schedule, and the rest of September and October are really full with fall career fairs. So we'd love to have our PCVs join us at our tables. That's wonderful. We welcome that. We also schedule info sessions and class talks and other various events at college campuses. But if you're not able to join the recruiter, we would also love your connections. Maybe you know an RPCV professor, or maybe you have a department head who would like to, in agriculture, who would be able to let Peace Corps come into their class to speak about what animal husbandry projects we may have in certain parts of the world. So we would love those connections, and also in community involvement. So what if, let's say you're a Rotarian or you're a member of a Chamber of Commerce and you have a community event coming up, please let your recruiter know of those connections. We are not only on college campuses, but we're also in the community with those groups as well. And like I said, this, I guess we've kind of already talked about participate in recruitment events, but really that is a way to have your stories shared, whether it is joining an info session as a guest speaker or a panel event to speak about your experience. We'd love to have you join us and really just add that value and added personal touch to the experience, to hear what it was like for someone else to serve in Peace Corps in most likely a different part of the world. So we really do value those extra voices and really do welcome you. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is an Andrew Wilson. I do not want to steal your thunder at all, but these are some notes from Third Goal. So please at any time chime in, Andrew. But we, like I said, we do have a process. If you are interested in planning, well, I actually should correct myself. I should have listed welcome back send-off, not send-off. Interested in participating in a welcome back send-off event, please email rpcv@peacecorps.gov. If we do already have an event happening in that city, we'll let you know and we'll link you up with the organizer. If not, we will link you up with resources. And then right below that is a recording of the meeting that I mentioned that took place earlier this year with more details about, it was an FAQ about what are the details of hosting a send-off event. And of course, we would love your feedback on each one Reach One materials and to hear your experiences of what you're doing in the field. I wasn't in the meeting yet, but I heard Dan shared his story in a picture when he was out in the field. So that's exactly what we're looking for. So if you wouldn't mind just emailing that to thirdgoal@peacecorps.gov. Okay, I am realizing I think I went extremely over on time. I apologize. I believe the next slide is questions. Okay, great. In the chat, I think there is a lot of feedback in the chat, so just let me know what to answer first, please.
Okay, I'll jump right in. There were a couple of things that were brought up, so and then we're gonna kind of shift gears. There was questions about whether the forms could be downloaded and used. The each one reach one forms. Andrew kindly answered the question that they can be downloaded and used in different forums. There was also a link was put into the recruiters so people could get to that information. And the final one that I do not think was answered were how many vacancies there actually are, if you were able to elaborate on the number of recruitment vacancies.
I do not think that's public knowledge.
Okay, well then the answer would be no.
It is not, but honestly, we really are working diligently to really fill those vacancies. And I'm so happy that I'm on a hiring panel, just conducted 3 interviews this week, and really happy that we are pulling names of recent RPCVs from the PCE roster. And that really is attributed to Third Goal, who has been going to COS conferences, spreading the word about employment at Peace Corps. So we are seeing the direct fruits of that labor by people applying to the PCE roster, and we're pulling those names and conducting interviews. So it's happening real time.
Okay. Well, I'm going to just close this out because we are slightly over time, which is, slightly is pretty good for us, so we're quite happy. So thank you very much, Amy. For those who are interested, yes, there was a link put in the chat about recruitment positions. So you can, find that if that's something that you are interested in doing. Amy, it's always, I don't know if I really have the words to express how much we appreciate when Peace Corps is able to contribute and to be part of these events. We are one family, each of us kind of, what do they say about the 3-legged stool, right? And each piece of it playing its part, and without the other, we're not as strong. So we really do appreciate your presence. For those who are not aware, Amy really took up the slack when one of her colleagues got sick. So this was the last minute, and you really just pulled off such a wonderful presentation, great information. Again, I cannot express enough how much we appreciated your presence today. I will ask Travis the link. Somebody put the link in the chat, and there have been several questions about that the recruitment link for recruiters. So if it can be placed again in the chat so people are able to access it, I'd appreciate it. Yeah, thank you very much. Robert is responsible for the magazine Worldview, and I'm just going to let us go right to the video because I think he says it all in the video. I think you will appreciate what he has to say. So better to hear it from him than from me. With that, can I ask Orrin, please, to get to the next video, and let's get started with Robert.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Peace Corps Connect 2024. My name is Robert Nolan. I'm the editor-in-chief of Worldview magazine. And before I begin, I just wanted to say thank you so much to all of you who subscribe to Worldview as part of your NPCA membership at the $50 level. If you haven't signed up as a member, I definitely would encourage you to do so that you can get the magazine in your mailboxes twice annually. And I also wanted to say thank you to the folks who have contributed to the magazine, whether that's a letter to the editor, submitting an article for publication, or simply sharing something on social media with your networks. We really appreciate that. And simply put, we couldn't do any of this without you. Putting together a magazine as a small nonprofit organization is no small endeavor, and we rely on your support in order to do this. Today, I wanted to share with you a few thoughts about where Worldview has been, a little bit about the history, tell you a little bit about where we are now, and most excitingly, to tell you a little bit about where we're going. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So like many of you, I received Worldview for the first time upon returning from service, and I had assumed that it was coming from Peace Corps, the agency. I later learned that it was actually a publication of the NPCA, and previous to that, the Council of Returned Peace Corps Volunteers. So since the early days of Worldview as a print newsletter, it's since gone on to win multiple awards, including one for this cover illustration of JFK on the 60th anniversary of the Peace Corps. We've also had numerous contributors of renown, including RPCV Reed Hastings, the founder of Netflix. So despite the many successes of Worldview over the decades, one of the first things I wanted to do when I came on board as editor about a year ago was to speak with you, our readers, to better understand how we might serve your needs and really reimagine Worldview as a publication for the 21st century. How can we attract more readers? How can we get more engagement? How can we give you the type of content that you're really looking for? So at the end of last year, we conducted an audience survey and landed on some really key findings thanks to your participation. So the first question we asked our survey respondents was, how are you engaging with Worldview? And about 1/3, or even just a little bit more, said you were engaging with Worldview through the print magazine. Now, this isn't surprising considering the fact that that is the primary way that Worldview has been delivered, and there hadn't really been a digital infrastructure built out specifically catered to the Worldview audience. What was a little bit more alarming, though, was that about 1/3 of our respondents said they weren't engaging with Worldview at all, and this is something we wanted to address. So the next question we asked readers about was their age demographic. And what we learned was about 75% of Worldview readers are over the age of 45. Now, this represents what I like to call the first generation, second generation, and maybe even into the third generation of RPCVs. So the question then became, how do we reach other more recently returned volunteers? Our reader base is critical, particularly for the support of NPCA and for the support of the magazine. Many of the folks over 45 are members of NPCA. What we'd like to see is more engagement with those later generations, both in terms of membership and in terms of readership with Worldview. Next, we asked readers about their overall satisfaction with the magazine, and what we learned really set off alarm bells. We learned that there's a lot of room for improvement. Overall satisfaction ranked only 6 out of 10, 10 being the most satisfied and 0 being the least satisfied. So we know we can do better, and this is something that's really inspired us to rethink and reimagine Worldview as a publication, which we're about to learn more about. So in order to develop a new strategy for Worldview, we also needed to know what other channels our readers and our membership were engaging NPCA on. And one bit of good news that we learned is that in addition to the magazine, more than 50% of NPCA respondents said that they engage with us through our e-newsletter, and many also indicated that they're engaging on social media channels. So what that told us when it comes to rethinking the Worldview strategy is that we need to be more digital. We also wanted to learn about what types of content our readers prefer. And what we learned here was that overwhelmingly, Worldview readers want to hear about feature stories. They want to see items that are newsworthy and affecting our everyday lives, whether that's issues related to climate change or international peace and security. They also wanted to hear more about our PCV groups. And in fact, we dedicated our entire last issue to the good work that our PCV groups are doing around the country and around the world. And finally, many Peace Corps volunteers and RPCVs, being an alumni type organization, want to hear about what our fellow RPCVs are up to. So these are all things that we're taking into consideration as we develop content for the new revised Worldview. Lastly, many of you know that Worldview is dependent on advertising revenue in order to cover publishing and shipping costs, which are quite expensive. Many of you have seen publications that feature advertisements from institutions of higher learning. And one of the questions we asked in the survey was, what types of organizations or products would you like to see advertised in Worldview? Those really fell into 3 distinct categories. The first is, as I said, higher education and continued education and learning opportunities. The second is travel, both travel experiences, organized trips, but also products. And then finally, books and publishing was another area where we learned that you all would be receptive to learning about. What are some new books that focus on the issues we care about? What are some other opportunities to engage in book clubs and things like this? So these are the types of advertising opportunities that we'll be providing for folks who want to partner with us. So taking into account Worldview's long legacy serving the more than 250,000 Peace Corps volunteers who have served overseas, along with the findings from the survey, we really wanted to develop a new strategy which has one central aim, which is to become a place for all things Peace Corps. And in order to do that, we knew we needed to implement a digital transformation that would make the magazine accessible to more people. One of the first steps we've taken in implementing a new Worldview strategy is a rebranding, a visual rebranding of the magazine. And what we've decided to do is introduce a whole new set of colors, vibrant colors that really pop and speak to the mission of the magazine, new logos for social media, and new fonts that render well on digital platforms. Perhaps the biggest and most exciting component of this reimagining of Worldview is the creation of a digital hub for all things Worldview, and therefore all things Peace Corps. That will include a dedicated website, as you can see here. This is a sneak peek. The website will launch next week. You'll be able to access that through the NPCA's website. We're also creating dedicated social media channels for Worldview that will feature content both from the magazine and regularly updated articles and material that will be digitally exclusive. This website will be accessible to all RPCVs, whether you're a subscriber or not, to the print publication. The last thing I wanted to share with you today is something that really rounds out the suite of Worldview branded entities that we're producing, and that is the 2024-25 Worldview Guide to Graduate School. This is a brand new type of publication. It's the first of its kind, the first time NPCA has endeavored to do something like this, and it is geared specifically towards RPCVs seeking to pursue a graduate degree in studies related to their Peace Corps service. This publication is being produced in partnership with a number of institutions of higher learning, many of which have longstanding relationships with both the Peace Corps and NPCA. The guide will include information on identifying the right types of program for you, what are the admissions processes, and most importantly, how to finance a graduate education without going broke. So we've tapped a number of our PCVs and leaders within the academic community, and I think this is going to be a very special publication that I believe will be very well received by our community. This will be available next week as well. Check your inboxes for announcements. So thank you all for your time and listening to some of the big changes that are on the horizon for Worldview. I invite everyone to continue to participate. Keep sending those letters, keep submitting those articles. There will be even more opportunities for folks like you to contribute to Worldview now that we have an expansion of platforms, particularly on our new website. And I invite you all to engage with us there and to follow us on our new social media channels when those launch in coming weeks. I just want to say thank you again for reading Worldview. Thank you to all the NPCA members who have donated at the $50 level. If you haven't done that, I'd again encourage you to do so. And you can always reach me at worldview@peacecorpsconnect.org. I'm always looking for article ideas. I want to hear your feedback, and I want to hear how we can continue to make Worldview a place for all things Peace Corps. Thanks.
Thank you, Robert. I've actually had an opportunity to look at the chat, so I do see that there's a couple of questions. So what I think would be interesting is Robert is actually, many of you know, we're working virtually, and he's the furthest. Robert is based in France, and my understanding is he's on the line. Is that correct? Robert, are you with us?
Here, yep.
Okay, so let me take a quick moment to introduce Robert, who's, like I said, he's the furthest in the family. And there's one question that has been coming up. I mean, you can obviously contribute other things, but the one question that has been coming up is essentially, is the digital going to be replacing the hard copy? So perhaps you can address that and explain to people how that's going to be done.
Absolutely. Thanks, Carla. Yeah, we will, for all those of you who are writing in the chat, we will be continuing to publish the print magazine. Historically, it's come out about 3 or 4 times a year. We're going to reduce that to twice annually. So there'll be a spring and summer issue and a fall winter issue. So that'll be the next print issue will be hitting mailboxes just before the holidays. So late November, most likely. So you can look for that. And one other thing, question I did want to address is a number of folks who already are members of NPCA at the $50 or higher level. You do not need to resubscribe to the magazine. You'll continue to receive it as part of your regular membership. So in terms of resubscribing, nothing's changed on that front. But if you do want to begin subscribing, you're not currently a donor or member at the $50 level, you can follow some of the links in the chat and go ahead and make that $50 donation, and you'll receive the next issue and forthcoming issues in the mail.
Robert, if you have any last words before we pass over, please feel free.
From you, send your story ideas, letters to the editor. This is a community effort. This is a community magazine, so please engage with them. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much, and thank you for staying on the line. I know it's late in France, so we appreciate it, you're attending. With that, I'm going to pass over to Mike Roman. I'm not going to say anything else because the thunder should be his. The excitement should be his. So, Mike, please come on and talk to us about our future here.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Carla, and everyone that's still here. Love seeing you guys still here. 2025 Peace Corps Connect. Join us at the 2025 Peace Corps Connect conference. Mark your calendars, everyone. July 18th through the 21st. Go ahead and flip that switch, Warren. 2025 as we gather at American University, the School of Law in Washington, D.C. for the Peace Corps Connect Conference. This exciting event will feature the Peace Corps Career Fair, Shriver Summit 25, Peace Corps Day of Advocacy on Capitol Hill, and 2 days of jam-packed, insightful, and inspirational sessions. Connect with returned volunteers, global leaders, and passionate advocates for change. Engage in a dynamic panel or many dynamic panels, interactive workshops, and keynote addresses from thought leaders as we explore the theme of reimagining service in an evolving world. The conference's highlights include prestigious Harris Wilford Global Citizen Award and the Sergeant Shriver Award for Distinguished Humanitarian Service. The call for session proposals and registration opens November 1st, 2024. Don't miss this chance to celebrate the Peace Corps legacy and help shape its future. We look forward to seeing you in Washington, D.C. And with that, I think, oh, you can one more switch, Orrin. Dorm rooms will be available on campus, off campus, hotels will be available, and AU rates will be provided for those in attendance. So, we got everything ready to roll out here soon. Look for more November 1st. Off to you, Dan, I believe.
I was really excited to tour the American University facilities with Mike a few weeks ago, and it is going to be a great spot, really super convenient for hotels and dining, and some great on-campus facilities during the summer. It'll just be all hours for social gatherings. It's going to be really fun, and I have not been to an in-person Peace Corps Connect since the last one in 2019. It will have been 6 years next year since we all met in Austin. And I just live still on that vibe that I got from a couple of the Peace Corps Connects that I went to, and I know many of you have been to many of them. It is a real feel-good event and an opportunity to network. It's many things. We'll be launching some calls for proposals, like Mike says, and if you'll go to the next slide. We are especially happy for the return of our annual awards. And we haven't done the Harris Wofford Award because it is an in-person award that is given since 2019. And it's been a couple of years because of pandemic and transitions at NPCA that we haven't done the Sergeant Shriver Award for Distinguished Humanitarian Service. So I'll ask a colleague to drop into the chat a link to our awards page on our website, where you can begin looking, considering who you would like to nominate for one of these awards. Now, the Sergeant Shriver Award for Distinguished Humanitarian Service goes to an RPCV. They must have served in Peace Corps, who has gone just above and beyond and achieved a significant impact in the area of international development and humanitarian services. So I know there's a lot of people out there who would qualify for this World Award, and do look at the list on this website that Travis dropped into the chat at previous award winners, give you some inspiration for who you might nominate. You cannot nominate yourself for either of these awards. The Harris Wofford Global Citizen Award is an endowed award at NPCA, thanks to one of our donors who has created an annual fund that provides a recognition to a global leader, someone who typically has served, has partnered with Peace Corps in some way, and has a Peace Corps connection in one of the countries where Peace Corps has worked. And our last couple of award winners, Kul Gandra from Nepal and Luis Argueta are from Guatemala are great examples of that kind of connection. So do look again at the previous award winners for inspiration. And we love to connect with people at this level. They often end up being members of advisory councils and things like that at MPCA. So it's a tool for us to engage with new important connections and to celebrate the achievements of Peace Corps. And again, that's returning at Peace Corps Connect 2025 in Washington, D.C. The award deadline, the nomination deadlines are December 31st of this year. So please look at the nomination packets on this website and consider who you would like to nominate. Okay. It is my annual distinct honor and pleasure to introduce a friend who really needs no introduction in this community. Dr. Jody Olson is the co-president of the Women of Peace Corps Legacy. And Jody, I think it's just you this afternoon, and thank you for joining us. I'm always really excited to see who Women of Peace Corps Legacy is spotlighting for your 2 awards every year. But of course, many of you know Jody as the 20th director of Peace Corps, and previously the deputy director when I was working at Peace Corps headquarters, and when I got to know Jody as someone who had experience as a Peace Corps volunteer, as Peace Corps staff in a number of countries, and as a leader in Peace Corps headquarters, and is just the a quintessential VIP leader in the Peace Corps community. Jody, thanks for all you do with Peace Corps Legacy these days. Tell us about it.
Well, thank you so much, Dan. And also a shout out and thank you to Carla and to Jonathan for putting together such a wonderful Connect conference. And thank you for the introductions. And thank you, NPCA, for having us, Women of Peace Corps Legacy, part of the NPCA Connect annual celebration. We're honored. Women of Peace Corps Legacy, an affiliate with NPCA, a proud affiliate for the past 10 years, has about 800 members of mostly women and some men, thank you, Dan, among others, who have a background in Peace Corps experience and come together to empower women. We do this through our mentorship programs, our every other month podcasts, our awards, our quarterly coffee chats, and our newsletters and virtual programs. We build a community to collectively support our members' individual work on behalf of women and girls. We encourage leadership roles for women of all generations through co-committee chairs, mentoring, and gatherings for mutual support and learning. And we celebrate and honor women who have devoted personal and professional leadership to helping others. But excitedly today, we're announcing our 2 leadership award winners for this year. We have been giving these awards for almost a decade, and we traditionally announce them as a part of the NPCA annual summit event. We are honored to be able to do it again today. And in our audience are the 2 women leaders for whom the awards are named and our 2 award winners. So first, drum roll, please. The Kate Rafferty Emerging Leader Awardee is given to women leaders under 40. This year, it's Lauren Spiegel. Lauren began, and listen, talk about women leaders. Lauren began her international career as a volunteer in Nicaragua, working with projects focused on maternal and child health. Her 15 years in global health research and practice includes testing childhood vaccine registries in Nepal and 3 West African countries, USAID saving mothers giving life in Uganda, Zambia, and Nigeria, and health assessment programs in Laos, Central America, and the Caribbean. She integrates research, knowledge, and practice to ensure those pregnant and giving birth have high quality, respectful, and dignified care, independent of location, economics, or background. She tests these practices in all regions of the world. Lauren is currently, in addition to everything else she's doing, she's currently completing a PhD in maternal and child health care while she continues her research. She has a master's in public health with a focus on research from her work as a Peace Corps volunteer. Congratulations, Lauren. I don't even know when you sleep, but it's extraordinary work that you're doing. Our second award, the Deborah Harding Women of Achievement Awardee, is Dr. Katrine Sarah Sadi. Her family immigrated from Iran in 1979, establishing her own and her family's long lifetime commitment to healthcare. Her parents are both doctors, and 3 of the 4 siblings are doctors. Katrine chose to be a Peace Corps volunteer. She began in Morocco, and then having been evacuated from Morocco because of the Gulf War. And as an aside, when I was talking to her about the award, I said that I was the person, unfortunately, who had to pull her out of Morocco. So she and I bonded that moment. Anyway, her commitment to Peace Corps ensured that she did a full 2-year tour in Kenya, following having to leave Morocco. There, her health and maternity projects with young mothers and infants defined her post-Peace Corps professional career in medicine. She has an MD in general medicine and HIV/AIDS, followed by infectious diseases and applied epidemiology. This brought her back to Africa for her roles as educator, researcher, physician, and epidemiologist. She has and continues to focus on medicine and public health globally, with a particular focused research, surveillance, and outbreak responses on high-hazard viruses around the world and their impact on women and girls, often the victims of health inequities. During her work with Ebola in West Africa, she was able to personally brief the president of Liberia, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, on the ongoing Ebola situation in Liberia. And as I think everyone knows, former President Johnson Sirleaf is a longtime Peace Corps friend. Working within the CDC global health community, Katrine has won numerous awards and commendations for her work, including the Gary Vernon Ralph Memorial Award, the Power Award for someone who models responsible, positive, and beneficial use of power in healthcare relationships, and serves as a true role model. And more recently, the Paul C. Schnechter International Health Award. Congratulations, Lauren and Katrine. And wow, what careers, what gifts you're giving back as leaders because of your Peace Corps experience. And thank you for your service to humankind and your specific research and practice on behalf of women and girls. Each of our 2 awardees will receive an award of $1,000 for a Peace Corps project or NGO of their choosing. Now, we have the opportunity for our award winners to tell their own stories, and terrific stories they have, virtually on October 10th at 7 p.m. We invite all of you to attend. It's going to be extraordinary. We will also honor extraordinary women Peace Corps, including present and past award winners, in person at Peace Corps headquarters on November 13th at 4 p.m. We're encouraged to register, all of you, for this event and come and hear the stories. More information about the awardees, how to sign up for these 2 upcoming events, and other programs of Women of Peace Corps Legacy, as well as offering membership, which is free, just go to our website, womenofpeacecorpslegacy.com. Thank you all. Thanks to all the individuals and organizations, and a particular strong shout out thank you to the Peace Corps, all 62, 63 years, who create opportunities for women to thrive and lead in service to others. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Jody. Really excited to join you in person on the 10th and look forward to seeing you there and celebrating this with you. And I hope others on the line will join us as well. Museum of the Peace Corps Experience, another one of our groups that is looking for any and every Peace Corps volunteer or friend of Peace Corps to work with them. So without further ado, I'll let Zach and Anne introduce themselves. I just have to say, Anne, we miss you.
Dan, thanks so much for that introduction, and congratulations to the Women of Peace Corps Legacy Award winners. That's just fantastic. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Zach Klim. I'm director of the Museum of the Peace Corps Experience, and we're a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to collecting and preserving Peace Corps artifacts and history, and using them to create exhibits and programs that promote peace education, cross-cultural learning, and a curiosity about service to others. And so we are actively collecting all sorts of objects from volunteer service, both from the RPCVs themselves, and we're looking to expand the collection even more so to collect objects and stories from the host country nationals that you served with. So your host parents or your counterpart or your friend or colleague down the street. So we'll be rolling out more about that initiative shortly, but we're eager to continue to grow the collection, and we really appreciate all that have contributed so far. Can you move on to the next slide for me? We've got a lot of exciting activities coming up in 2025 and 2026. So we've sort of pivoted from a focus on a permanent exhibition space in DC, although we're still on the hunt and we're actively pursuing sort of creative, low-cost, no-cost solutions. But we also want to make sure that we're bringing the collection to the public. And so we're focusing on temporary, potentially traveling exhibits for the next 2 years. We'll be starting in fall of 2025 in Dayton, Ohio at the International Peace Museum for a 4-month exhibit that's going to be the centerpiece of their Season of Nonviolence programming. We'll be continuing to roll out more information about this, but we're building the exhibit now with our colleagues over at the International Peace Museum, and we're really excited about this collaboration. We're going to continue with another exhibit in fall of 2025, and this will be in Washington, D.C. at the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Library. That's the flagship library of the Washington, D.C. system. It is just an amazing space. I'm sure many of you know it. If you don't, we hope you'll come and visit us. So we'll be launching a relatively small scale exhibit on the 5th floor that will coincide with Peace Corps Iran's conference at the museum. And it will feature a lot of new content as well as some of our Posting Peace and Peace Corps at 60th anniversary exhibit that was at American University. Many of you also know that we're working very closely with our friends over at the Peace Corps Commemorative Foundation, and the museum is also going to be working with them so that visitors to the future Peace Corps Park will be able to access museum content on a visit to the park as well. So we're thinking through what that type of virtual content looks like and how to position that best at the upcoming Peace Corps Park. And then lastly, in 2026, as part of the America 250 celebration, the anniversary of the American Revolution, we will be working alongside many of the cultural institutions in Washington, D.C. to put together an additional larger scale exhibit at the MLK Library, which we're really eager to partner with them in both of these to upcoming exhibits. Next slide, please. I'm joined by a familiar face that many of you know, Ann Baker. So she has been part of the National Peace Corps Association family for many, many years and is now a board member at the museum. And so Ann joins me and a healthy, robust board and over 40 volunteers to put together the exhibits and programs that we are amassing, to work with those of you that are interested in donating stories and objects. We are actively seeking new members on both the volunteer teams and on the board. Specifically, we're looking for board members with fundraising, museum experience, or board leadership experience. So if that's you, please reach out. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Ann, who's going to talk to you a little bit about how you might get involved with the museum.
Thanks so much, Zach. It's so wonderful to be here today with the Peace Corps community. So many familiar faces and friends. It's great to see you all. So as Zach mentioned, I joined the board of the Museum of Peace Corps Experience almost a year ago because I am passionate about the need to preserve and share the stories and the impact of Peace Corps from all perspectives. And we all have a role in that. So I invite you today to join us in our efforts. There are 4 basic ways to get involved with the museum and its efforts. And thanks, I saw that Travis put the link to our website. You can find them all easily on our website. So next slide, please. First of all, become a member. Start there. With your membership, you are supporting our programming and our efforts to establish a permanent Museum of the Peace Corps Experience. Secondly, share your object and story. What do you have that exemplifies your Peace Corps experience? Maybe it's something you used on a daily basis or only on special occasions, or something you wore or were given as a gift. What story does that object tell? This is the foundation of our museum. We've been collecting objects and stories for over 20 years, and we want to add yours. Third, donate to help us meet our fundraising goals. Our budget is small, but not insignificant. We need to catalog and store our collections, support our staff, which is just Zach, he does everything, and stage online, temporary, and traveling exhibits while we seek permanent space. Your donations of any amount support all of that. And fourth, volunteer or join our board. We have a staff of 1, a board of 11, but much of the work is done by 9 teams of over 40 volunteers. Please join our team. We particularly need people with fundraising, museum, or board leadership experience. So next slide, please. So thank you all for your service and thank you for joining us. I invite you to take the first step today. Join the museum. Get out your smartphone, scan the QR code on your screen, and you can join right away on your phone, or if you have any questions, please contact us to follow up. Any closing words, Zach?
I think you covered it, Ann. Thank you all for your attention. NPCA, thank you for inviting us to be a part of the conversation. It's so wonderful to see so many familiar faces, and we hope to see you at an upcoming exhibit.
Zach, thank you very much. And thank you very much. It's always great to hear about, the memorialization, if you will, I'm not sure if that's great English, but I'm going with it, that of a big part of who all of us are. So really congratulations and good luck with the work that you're going to be doing. We are looking to end with a bang and that everybody should be willing to stay. It's my honor to present or to open up the discussion of the finalists or the opportunity of the finalists for the Laureate Miller Rupee Award. And we are going to, through videos, present all 3 of the finalists. But before we actually present them, we would like to just give one shout out and a recognition and acknowledge the 2023 winner, which was the Friends of Liberia. We really appreciate the kind of work, and their commitment was outstanding. And in continuing in that tradition, we launched again the the Rupee Award. With that process, there were five groups that actually did present for consideration. There was a mixed panel of NPCA staff and the standing committee for groups, so it was a mixed group. And they were voted on, or they were analyzed based on a very specific criteria. Next slide, please. And the selection committee considered three major points. How well did the group's activity promote the third goal? What was the impact of the activity on the community served? How well does the activity serve as a model or inspiration for others? So I do not want to take up a lot of time. I just would like to, just for you to understand what we were looking at. And now it's your time. We brought it down to 3. Now it's for you as individuals to vote based on what you see here. Which one do you think deserves to have the honor of the 2024 Rupee Award winner? So without further ado, we're going to present the videos for all 3. The first is the Friends of Malaysia. Again, it is an honor to be the one that's opening this up. Orrin, can you start the video for the Friends of Malaysia?
Hello, my name is Don Lovett. I'm a board member of the MPCA affiliate, Friends of Malaysia, or FOM. I've been selected to present FOM's Lorette Miller Rupee Award nominee video. FOM is an orphan affiliate group. That means that there no longer are Peace Corps volunteers serving in Malaysia to replenish our ranks. Our first Peace Corps volunteers arrived in 1962. These volunteers actually were posted to 3 different entities: the Federation of Malaya, the British Crown Colony of Sarawak, and the British Crown Colony of North Borneo. In 1963, these united to form the country of Malaysia. All of the volunteers became Malaysian PCVs. In the end, well over 3,000 Peace Corps volunteers had served in Malaysia. The last volunteers in Malaysia completed their service in 1983. There have been no new RPCVs from Malaysia for over 40 years. FOM currently has slightly over 250 members. Despite our small size, our commitment to serving the communities of our former host country remains strong. Since FOM's founding 3 decades ago, we have donated almost $25,000 in support of projects in Malaysia. FOM members are concerned deeply about healthcare in Malaysia. Our support of several healthcare initiatives was highlighted in our Rupee Award application. And our greatest concern has been breast cancer awareness. In Malaysia, breast cancer is the leading cause of death among women. As in many other countries, treatment of breast cancer in Malaysia is concentrated in major hospitals in large cities. Low-income women, especially those in rural areas, are less likely to be screened or treated until it is too late. FOM's most enduring and impactful relationship has been with the Sandakan Pink Ribbon Group. Funds that FOM contributed to this group were used to acquire breast models that are being used to teach women what they are looking for when they do a breast self-examination. At last count, over 15,000 women and schoolgirls have used these models to learn about the process of breast self-examination. And perhaps a few lives have been saved too. FOM also supports the Breast Cancer Awareness Welfare Association of Malaysia. This organization provides free clinical breast examinations. They take their mobile clinic to rural areas where healthcare access is limited, and also to the urban poor from marginalized communities. In addition, FOM supports the National Cancer Society of Malaysia. We specifically support its program to provide free housing for rural residents who travel to the capital city of Kuala Lumpur for outpatient cancer treatment. FOM also supports other healthcare-related initiatives. For example, we have supported NAS Kids, an organization that teaches young women how to sew while at the same time providing them with an income. How is this connected with healthcare? NAS Kids specifically had requested funds to support the sewing of masks during the pandemic. FOM funds purchased the materials and also compensated the young women who did the sewing. Almost 1,000 masks were produced with the FOM funds. These masks were distributed to elementary schools in economically depressed towns. Recently, FOM has supported the Kulingyan Art Therapy Academy. Our funds provide free access to art therapy programs for low-income youth experiencing trauma or depression. Thank you for allowing me to share with you how members of the Friends of Malaysia remain devoted to the communities of our host country through our support of healthcare initiatives in Malaysia, in particular, those related to breast cancer. We are a small group that is motivated by our enduring Peace Corps spirit and our love for a country that we briefly got to call home. Terima kasih. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really appreciated the video. We're going to move to our second nominee, the Friends of Paraguay.
Friends of Paraguay, or FOP, is a country of service affiliate group of NPCA that was established in 1987 by a group of RPCVs during the 20th anniversary of the Peace Corps Paraguay program. For over 10 years, FOP has been offering grant money to Paraguayan organizations, including both small community-based organizations as well as national nonprofits.
After small operating expenses, including maintaining a post office box and a website, the vast majority of our funds go to supporting our grants. This year, we are committed to giving out at least $3,000 in grant money to organizations with strong applications. Last year, we gave out 3 $1,000 grants after evaluating a pool of 6 applications. This is a marked increase of only 4 years ago when we gave out 1 $500 grant to our only applicant.
2 recent examples of some real success stories. We made some early grants to a foundation called Super Kids Foundation, Super Niños as it's called in Paraguay, and we funded them for 4 years before we stopped. They're a successful Paraguayan NGO that was established by an RPCV in central Paraguay. This organization is managed by Paraguayan young adults and is very dynamic. The Friends of Paraguay specifically supported kids teacher programs, which focused on child leadership and focused on development among hundreds of new, very needy kids in central Paraguay. The focus was on literacy, life skills, and leadership for these kids. More recently, Friends of Paraguay has made 2 grants in 2021 and 2022 to OPADES. It's a Paraguayan NGO. In English, it stands for Paraguayan Organization for Conservation and Sustainable Development. Specifically, the Friends of Paraguay grants have focused on developing a program of what's called Guardians of the Park for Ibacuí National Park in Paraguay. This program involves adolescents in programs and provides training and guidance and team building efforts. And the focus is on the sustainability of the park, and they're focusing on the younger generation because they're going to be around a long time and they're going to be allies of protection of the park. And once again, like in the case of our previous grants to Super Kids, this one with OPADES supports youth as agents of change, and I think that's bodes well for the future Paraguay.
I think one of the aspects of the Friends of Paraguay grant program is the evolution of both our organization as a grant giving organization and also the types of organizations that have come forward requesting funds over the years. Our relationship has evolved because the organizations have developed and become more sophisticated, more mature, and we have become partners with them. We have become partners in terms of looking at what needs are in the community, and also we have become partners in terms of working with organizations that are new to the grant world, and we have assisted in the development of their abilities to ask for a grant. And so we realized that in addition to support that we might be able to provide, we also have left an organization that is in a much better place to request resources elsewhere. So we've grown up on both sides, both ourselves and Friends of Paraguay, and also the organizations that we have developed relationships with, and it has been very, very rewarding. And I'm sure it's only going to get better as we go forward.
This year, we are thrilled to announce 2 new developments. The board has voted to include an additional memorial grant in the name of an RPCV, the funds of which will come from an external organization. And our membership voted to include a Paraguayan host country national on the board of Friends of Paraguay, who, as a member of the grants committee, will support our efforts in both advertising our grant opportunities in Paraguay and serving in the selection of grant recipients.
Thank you very much. It's much appreciated. We're going to now head to the third video, the third finalist, which was with the Peace Corps Alumni Foundation for Philippine Development.
Greetings, my name is Justin Tabor, and I am the current president of the Peace Corps Alumni Foundation for Philippine Development, or PCAFPD. On behalf of our US-based Board of Trustees and our Ituloy team in the Philippines, we want to thank you for considering PCAFPD for the 2024 Laureate Miller Group Award for Outstanding Community Service. PCAFPD celebrated its 40th anniversary in 2023. As you spend the next few minutes learning about our history, programs, and impacts, we hope you will come to share our enthusiasm for all that PCAFPD has accomplished. PCAFPD celebrated its 40th anniversary in 2023. I'm going to hand the presentation over to our longest-serving board member, a former PCAFPD president, and an original 1961 Philippines RPCV, Maureen Carroll, to share some of our history. Maureen.
PCAFPD was incorporated in 1983. The concept behind the program developed out of a series of small group discussions by former volunteers who were trying hard to figure out a way that they could create opportunities for return volunteers and staff to continue to support and be engaged in Philippine development from afar. They decided to establish a scholarship program for Filipino students who had great potential, academic and community service potential, but no money in order to pursue degrees. At this point, what we're most proud of is that we now have a group of program beneficiaries, young people who secured their degrees through our support, and who are grateful for that and have stepped forward to administer the program on our behalf.
By the end of the 2024-2025 academic year, PCAFPD will have graduated over 300 scholars, a number we are very proud of. As part of our 40th anniversary celebration, we conducted an impact study with our program alumni to learn what effect scholarship might have had on their lives. In this first pie chart, we see that without PCAFPD's support, over 70% of our scholars would not have had the opportunity to obtain their degree. In the next visual, we see one of our favorite impacts. Since graduating with their degree, over half of our scholars have paid forward their studies by supporting at least one other degree, usually another member of their family. Based on scholar responses, we estimate that for every scholarship we award, a second Filipino has a chance to study. Finally, our data shows that when comparing the economic standing of scholars and their families before, during, and after their studies, we see scholars moving into higher and higher income brackets, a sign of positive development. Data can only really tell part of our story, so I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Aries Azilo, who can share a little bit about what being a PCAFPD scholar is like.
My nephew, why are you jumping? What's happening? I passed the scholarship and I was really jumping. I was jumping with so much joy near the tricycle station, and everybody else was like clapping their hands. And then my uncle, Kuya Rico, told me, "Oy, Totoy, you can go to college now." So I wouldn't be where I am now if I hadn't got the scholarship. That was the only scholarship that I applied for. Nothing else.
To complement our flagship program, the PCAFPD Board of Directors set aside $10,000 to conduct a 5-year pilot of a granting program. They recognize that while scholarship is one way to achieve our mission, that human development extends beyond the classroom. In 4 years, the program has provided $8,000 to fund projects like technology education for Indigenous youth, an environmental after-school program, and multiple projects supported by Peace Corps volunteers. To share her experiences as an RPCV and a PCAFPD grantee, I'd like to introduce one of our first grantee winners, Emma Sarkle. Emma.
Happy to say that the grant really had a great positive impact, not only in terms of the immediate effect on increasing our patients' confidence and knowledge around childbirth and early parenthood, but also in a wider scale across our social media platforms, reaching thousands of community members with educational content.
Our Filipino partners have named themselves the Ituloy team. The Ituloy team and PCAFPD work hand in hand to make sure that our scholars and grantees have what they need to be successful. We are proud of this model that both mimics the cooperative nature of the Peace Corps, but also the special relationship between our two countries. To share her motivations to join this endeavor, I'd like to introduce you to our former scholar and now Ituloy team member, Rachel Briones. Rachel.
I really wanted to
to pass forward what I got from the scholarship. I think this is really the best way for me to show my gratitude to the organization. And also, it's just really, it feels good to know that you're making a difference in someone else's lives.
The future of PCAFPD depends on new RPCVs like our board member Nick Spalt, who returned from service in 2019.
I was able to get a scholar from the island, a scholarship. It had a profound impact on my service, probably the most impactful thing. I wanted to continue doing that work. And so once I completed my service, I joined the board that we need to improve engagement with returned Peace Corps volunteers, our donor community, and the volunteering community at large. And I think that this award would really help expand that engagement, get folks involved, and really help deliver additional impact to the Philippines.
If this presentation has inspired you to support PCAFPD, we invite you to follow the QR code on the screen to our website. On behalf of our PCAFPD family, both in the US and the Philippines, we want to thank you for your time and consideration for the 2024 Laureate Miller Roop Award for Outstanding Community Service. Maraming salamat.
Thank you very much to all three of the nominees. In the interest of time, I'm just going to jump right in. The voting is open for 2 weeks from September 14th to September 27th. We encourage everyone on the call or any other RPCV to vote, and all NPCA members can vote once. Your email is required, but only used to verify that you are an NPCA member. The winner will be announced in October and will be awarded a $500 cash prize. You can vote at the on the link there. The link will also be put in the chat, and you can also see the link if you go to the website. If you'd like to see the videos again, they will also be available on our website. And I believe that the link will be put into, or the information will be put into our next newsletter. So without any ado, I'm going to pass it over to Dan to wrap things up. Thank you all for listening, and thank you all for taking the time to watch these great videos.
I want to just thank Carla for her expert moderation and for being the MC today. I wanted you all to get a sense of what an amazing member of our community she is. So just a couple of final remarks, and then I'll let John Evans bring us to an official adjournment for the Peace Corps Connect portion of our weekend before the affiliate group annual meeting. Please do save the date, whatever your calendar looks like. If you have something that you is a notebook, if you needed to put on a Post-it note on your refrigerator, if you have a Google Calendar, put the dates of July 18th through 21st next year into your calendar now. We will have, as Mike said, the ability to register and buy tickets to the event by November 1st is our current target. And we look forward to seeing you there. And we don't want you to schedule any vacation on top of those dates if you're looking forward to your summer plans next summer already. Please complete our post-event survey. So one of my staff colleagues will put into the chat an ability to tell us how much you enjoyed, or what you enjoyed and what you think we could improve for future virtual events. This is hopefully our last virtual Peace Corps Connect, but we do a number of webinars and town halls. So please include in your feedback if you attended last night, any recommendations or anything that you liked from the experience last night as well. Please do participate in the Each One Reach One campaign. That has been a theme throughout our day today, from beginning with Carol yet last night, Director Spahn, echoed by Congressman Garamendi and by myself and Amy in our presentations. It is something I am asked constantly by Director Spahn and Deputy Director White at Peace Corps, what we are doing to help support Peace Corps' recruitment crisis. And it really does need all of our support. Follow NPCA on social media. Our community is strong in those channels, but we need to expand our reach. And please do look at our e-newsletters every couple of weeks. Our e-blasts also include information about Worldview, our new digital worldview, as Robert described. And it is important that we reach new audiences. So if you have somebody, maybe from your Peace Corps cohort, I know that a number of my Bolivia fellow Peace Corps volunteers don't engage with our information, and I'm always on them about why aren't they engaging more with our materials. Please help us just grow our network. The Peace Corps network is important. As Carla said eloquently, we speak loudest when we have a unified voice and a collective voice. And finally, stay tuned. Become a mission partner. And if you are not sure if you are currently a donor with NPCA, please reach out to Travis. He's extraordinarily responsive and can help you with any challenges you have renewing or joining NPCA as a mission partner. I will turn it over to John at this point, and I just want to thank all of our presenters today. I feel very good. It's been 3 or 4 years now that we've been doing these virtual events, and just in time to not do virtual events next year. We've kind of figured it out at this point. So thank you all. It's been a pleasure to interact with you in the chat, and I'll let John bring us to a close.
Okay, thank you, Dan. This has been an exciting presentation. I hope you've all been as inspired as I have during this presentation. You can see that ultimately the NPCA is the umbrella organization for the entire Peace Corps community, building the network of RPCVs along with Peace Corps volunteers, along with the Peace Corps agency. So please keep that in mind. And one final thing, one opportunity I'm going to give you before we finish this part of the program, which is we launched a Protect the Peace Corps campaign. And some people might be saying, well, why are we saying protect or save the Peace Corps? Peace Corps exists because NPCA has for years been advocating for the Peace Corps. We do not know from one administration to another what will happen each time with the Peace Corps, which is why it's very important to have a very strong advocacy network. We would like to bolster Jonathan Pearson's staff in terms of advocacy on Capitol Hill. And so we launched a campaign to raise $50,000. And we reached out to a lot of people who have never, or not part of NPCA, or have never donated to NPCA. And we've had about 375 donations come in for about $26,000 of $50,000 donation. So I'm hoping that today we can move that forward. There's going to be a link in the chat. You've all, I'm sure most of you have contributed generously to NPCA. This is an opportunity to chip in another $50, $100, whatever you can to put us over the top. Where, as I said, we have 375 donations. I hope we can get a little bit closer to 500 today. So just as we're finishing this part, go right on there, click the link, and it's very easy to donate. If you're from California, remember there's a special link and a page you need to go to make that donation. But I really appreciate your support. But once again, this is a great community. I think we just appreciate it so much more. That the staff has really done a great job. We have a great board. And so now we're going to continue on into the next part of the meeting, which is the Affiliate Group Network Annual Meeting, which is really now, because we've elevated affiliate groups, it really is really the essential part of what we're doing in NPCA, as opposed to being a separate part. So I'm going to turn it over at this point to Christina and her team to talk about this part of the meeting.
What a fantastic Peace Corps Connect, and welcome affiliate group leaders and friends. I know some people might need to leave, but you're welcome to stay for this part of the meeting. This is our annual meeting of the Affiliate Group Network. Affiliate groups are RPCV groups that focus on bringing the world home and continue to connect the Peace Corps community and beyond. I am Christina Owens. I served in Bolivia from 2000 to 2002, and I had been elected in 2022 as the affiliate group coordinator. And as you probably heard in the Peace Corps Connect part, we had an election, which I'll go in more details. I am now going to be seated as a member elected board director, and I will explain what that means later in this. And also my co-chair partner in this is George Economides. I think I'm gonna, before I go to my remarks, I wanted to go over the agenda we can go to the next slide. Okay, so we're gonna have a quick welcome. We're gonna approve the minutes from 2023 AGNAM. It had been sent out, and I think somebody from staff will put it in the chat so you guys can look at the minutes from last year. We're gonna do a brief annual update, and then we're gonna actually go into more and be able to engage between everybody on here about how we can ensure Peace Corps is no longer chuggy, and we'll talk about what that word means, and recruiting the next generation of volunteers, and of course, measuring our impact. I think we go to the next slide. Okay, so we are, I think somebody has a link in there. Has the link been posted? Link to the minutes. Okay, the link to the minutes, and also a poll will appear on your screen. And I understand it's going to be open for a few minutes. I don't know if somebody can help me with that. Thank you. Okay, while that's going on, we can go to the next next slide, please. Okay, so as you know, I've been the affiliate group coordinator and board member since 2022. It is a 2-year term, and this has been in place for more than 10 years, I understand. And during this, in 2022, my goal for these 2 years was to elevate the voice of the affiliate groups, which truly drives the direction of our community. I started my term working with MPCA staff to create an affiliate group advisory committee that had an inclusive representation of our groups. Though the affiliate group network advisory committee has been part of the MPCA bylaws, in 2022 it was modernized to reflect our changing community. We ensured that there was a representation for various types of affiliate groups, and in the first year and a half we had a robust discussion on how the voices of the affiliate groups could be better heard. The MPCA board also had countless conversations on how we elevate the affiliate group voices. As a board and staff, MPCA was recognized. We recognize our role is to amplify the work of this network that is doing. And in December 2023, the MPCA board of directors voted to elevate this advisory committee to a standing committee. What's the difference? Well, the affiliate group network advisory committee had no decision-making authority, and their sole purpose was to advise me on issues that impact the affiliate groups. I then reported to the board. Also, as the coordinator, I am part of the board's executive committee, and this is good in theory, but in the last 10 years, the affiliate group network advisory committee has not always been around, including my role. It is a unique role on the board. It is a bit of a heavy lift. As a volunteer, it does take a lot of our time, which we all love to do, but it is not always. It's a lot of work, but good work. So this new approach of having a standing committee elevates our affiliate group's voice, but it also converts my role to a member elected director, and also spreads the work among other board members. So this new affiliate group network standing committee includes an equal number of group leaders and board members. It represents the collective voice of the community, and it also addresses the community interests. We obviously establish annual goals based on the expressed needs of the community, and we can also make motions to the board on behalf of the community. We do report to the community at large on an annual basis. We feel like this would be more effective in that currently we've been meeting for the past few months, and we are also looking for group leaders, new group leaders to join this standing committee as well. So you can reach out to me about that later. But we think this is a really important change. this is pretty much what we think NPCA is about, is to really elevate the voices of the affiliate group. I am going to now pass over, we're going to do an update on migration to Carlisle right now.
Hello again, everyone. As was said before, I'm the Director of Partnerships and Operations, and partnerships in the broad sense. I'm really supporting relationships with the groups. Next slide. As all of you know, one of the big initiatives has been the migration. So we're going to take a minute to do a bit of an update. Because of time constraints, we're not going to get into a lot of conversations, but I do like responding or question answering. But I do want to reiterate that, as we mentioned previously, we are setting up a forum so that there can be conversation regarding the migration. As you know, some groups or some of the representatives here were not part of this process. So we want to acknowledge it, but we do not want it to there's some other things that we'd like to get to. So first thing for the migration, there were two parts of the migration process. Previously, SilkStart managed both the website as well as the data. With this migration process, that was split into two, and there was one portion of the, we had two different service providers, one to support the migration of the website, and the other to support the data management portion of that. And clearly, from a full transparency perspective, we know that there were challenges. We know that there were long delays that created some frustration. We are also know that communication was not ideal. And we also noted that staff changes at NPCA created yet another layer of challenges with this process. However, we have completed the process. 44 groups migrated to the new website and 44 to the new database. There were originally about 48 for some groups decided that they did not want to do it at this time. Some have put things on pause. There are a variety of reasons, but overall 44 out of about 48 groups completed the migration. 15 have also signed up for Blackbaud Financial Services. Blackbaud Financial Services is essentially a type of service similar to PayPal. So that donations will no longer need to be processed to NPCA. Some of the affiliates had money being sent to NPCA, and then NPCA would go through a process of remitting that to groups. With Blackbaud Merchant Services, donations will go directly to the respective affiliates. We've also created training modules. Thank you to Travis, who has done several training modules for the database portion of the migration. The other service provider, which is FatLab, has created 12 different modules, training modules to support the groups that have migrated. We have created, in response to questions about how to donate and to increase efficiencies in donations, as well as planning events, both donation and event forms are now available. And as I mentioned, the technical support is also there. You can go directly to FatLab and directly to Blackbaud to get certain technical assistance. And that's for all of the groups that are part of, that decided to be part of the migration. Clearly with any migration, there's everything, you miss something is not addressed. So we have prioritized some specific areas right now based on the feedback that we have received from groups. That includes a membership portal, login portal. We have launched one has been established, but we have done what we're calling a soft launch so we can get some of the kinks out. We have also are prioritizing in events and some calendar sharing. That has been something that has been requested. Membership directory and direct messaging is also a priority, and professional services and mentoring matching. Those have all been things that have been, the voice of the community has spoken, and we are looking to address those over time. And I will stop there. Next slide. So with that in mind, with all of the challenges that we faced with the migration, this has been quite a momentous year, I would say. A lot has actually happened, and we're quite proud of many of the accomplishments. The first is the migration, and what the key thing for us is that we achieved data integrity. One of the things that was noted when we switched from Silk Start was that there were a lot of duplication. There was a lot of information that just was irrelevant. And so we are now in a place where there is much better data integrity. Individuals will be able to, for example, to go online and really see what they've donated over time, et cetera. So that is a big thing that this migration has allowed. The software that was chosen is considered gold standard, so it brings us to another level in terms of how we're working and professionalism and the like. We also instituted Bill.com, which is established. It's an electric payment processing for groups, and this was done again to streamline and to be done in a more efficient way. There's transparency, and it allows for electronics payments to be made. We are still working with some groups to sign up, but the system has been put into place. We have updated our data sharing policy. Many of you will receive it shortly. Again, we want to respect people's privacy. We have reaffirmed the organizational commitment to DEI. If you go to our website, you will see not only a DEI statement, but you will see videos. You will see our commitment to celebrating different groups within the community. What we are now looking for is to get input from the different groups as in terms of articles or op-ed pieces that can be posted. So a space where you would be able to communicate and to celebrate DEI. And one of the big things is the commitment has been the DEI Standing Committee, which has integrated the voice of community members as well as board members. We have also launched a matching grant program. The first three applications are due October 1st for the first round, which will be up to 3 grants. After that, we hope to do up to 5 grants every quarter. That is also something that can be found on the website. The link has also been put in the chat. I guess I really should be asking you, but I'm going to say we believe that we have improved communications from the groups. The team tries to respond within 48 hours, closer to 24, but within 48 hours, so we can address needs. We have also revised the reaffiliation process, which you will see soon. And we have moved from an annual reaffiliation process to one that will be every 3 years. And we will link it to different categories. So there will be some people that we reaffiliate in 2024, others 25, others 26. We have also, with that process, tried to streamline it to make it easier. So you will be getting information about that shortly. We have also established NPCA organizational indicators. You have heard a lot that we have purposefully used collective, community, things of that nature, because we want to move to a space where we can talk about our collective impact. And if to do that, we need data. And so they're going to be indicators. All of these indicators have been designed in partnership with the standing committee, and they are indicators that should add no extra work. And what I mean by that is, it may be, I'm just using this as an example, how many members do you have? Those are things that any group should have. And so it's not like it's extra work. So we were looking specifically for indicators that would serve for the group, but then can be aggregated into something to talk about our full community. We are also asking for qualitative indicators like a story or things, again, that the group itself, each group itself would be able to use. But the goal is not to create more work. It is to be able to tell our story, to increase our visibility, and to show people how important and how valuable the Peace Corps community is. And finally, we're celebrating, we had new affiliate groups, 4 new groups that joined: Friends of Mexico, RPCV Nexus, the Peace Corps China Association, and the Tualatin Valley, which is in Oregon, RPCV Association. So there have been quite a few accomplishments this year. Over to you, Christina.
Yeah, great. And I want to re-emphasize about one of the accomplishments that I'm really excited about is that change from the advisory committee to an affiliate to the standing committee. I see our members, our group leaders who are part of it, are reinvigorated. We're able to make progress and take action. So on this slide, I wanted to show, we want to move into measuring our impact. We have 149 groups that are affiliated with the National Peace Corps Association. Many of them are very active in different ways. And just a breakup, we have 47% are regional, almost 35% are country of service. And then we actually been increasing, I mean, I could be wrong, but it seems like we've been increasing our workplace groups as well. And then of course, affinity and cause related groups. Now, I think we can move on to the next slide. Sorry. So this is where I want to get more, we all want to get more engagement from you. We want to have a discussion, and what we're going to do is that either you can put it in the chat, or you can or raise your hand to if you want to speak. So one of the first question is, what activity or project are you most proud that you've accomplished as a group? Was there something that you're very proud about? And then you can answer the question with how many people benefited from your work. Maybe give you a minute. Oh, great. RPCV Hawaii is extremely proud of helping our currently serving PCVs from Hawaii. That's great. Okay, so Chris wants to speak. So I think you can unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Sure, I always have something to say, so happy to join you all again today. Sorry it's a bit late. I'm really happy and proud of the work that we've been able to do with the Desert Doves in Southern Arizona. We have a long history. The organization has been around since 1982. Our bank account dates back to 1992. We have volunteers. One of our older members was in Group 1 in Colombia of Peace Corps, all the way up into folks who were evacuated in the pandemic. And we just welcomed a new RPCV to our community who finished up service about a month ago. We had a major challenge during the pandemic of kind of board attrition and organizational struggle. And there was a point when we weren't sure if the organization was going to be able to continue. We've had a lot of the same people involved for many decades. And had a struggle finding younger people to take over the reins of the organization. And I'm happy to report that along with some of our other younger board members have taken on the mantle of the organization. And so we have been able to kind of keep things organized, trying to expand, offer a variety of events to try to attract a wider variety of return volunteers in our community, and then trying to focus our efforts on service projects and third goal opportunities, because we work closely and we have a very strong presence with the University of Arizona, which has a long Peace Corps history of its own in association with that. So I'm happy that we are still going and the organization didn't fold during the pandemic, and we've had a successful past couple of years. And as a result, we have over 500 RPCVs that have been part of our network over the years. We're always meeting lots of new RPCVs that are either passing through Tucson. We meet a lot of snowbirds and people who come from the West down to Tucson during the winter, and meet with them and connect with them. And so I'm hoping that in the coming years we will see an uptick in volunteers applying from our region and getting more people involved in the Peace Corps from our area. Thanks to the presence of our return Peace Corps volunteers doing third goal activities.
Great. Thank you. And I see a whole slew of people writing in the chat. We're going to probably be saving that chat. This is great. I think, I don't know what was the other question, but was there, I think Thane said 25,000, you've impacted 25,000 women and girls trained, and several life-saving, and I think breast cancer, you said? Okay. And then that's great. So there's a lot of things that we are doing, but we're not like promoting that. Like we need to be talking about it, but also measuring it so we can actually advocate for things that and really push what we're doing, because we are making a difference in the community. But how do we do it? I don't know if Carla, if you want to pipe in about anything else, any comments on that?
Just very briefly, I'm watching the chat since you've been doing the conversation, and it's amazing how much we're doing in terms of financially being able. There was one group that said, I believe they're giving out 7,500, and others talking about 2,000. Some people are talking about having reached 25,000 people. Others have talked about reaching almost 2,000 people. It is the work we do is so important. We matter, but it's our job to make sure that people know that we matter. And I think when we're talking about, going to Congress and going on the Hill, our ability to provide data is critical. Congress, I mean, that's just the world the way it is. The world today focuses on data. Stories are great too. There's a communication. I'm not minimizing that. The qualitative information is important, but data is just as important. And so our ability to tell our story is critical. And I think you have all made the case, which is really the purpose of kind of generating this conversation, is just to remind everyone that we need to make our case. I see Jonathan's hands up.
Yeah, that's a great lead into what I wanted to say. And it relates to how this information is so relevant to Congress. And before I go any further, I should say I'm a member of the board of the Friends of Micronesia, and I think our president Dean is on with us as well. So, but especially with geographic groups, one of the things we do every year at the beginning of the year is we start preparing what we call state-based resources. Those of you who've been with us on Capitol Hill, you know about these, but it's like a one-pager where we really try to zero in on every state in the country to say what's their connection to the Peace Corps. And one of the things we love to do as part of that is highlight those geographic affiliate groups. So for example, if your group does an annual cleanup of a river or a stream, or if you plant trees, or if you regularly do fundraising and support at a homeless shelter. We want to hear those stories because we want to localize those for lawmakers. And then as it relates to country groups, some of the big time successes over the years, some of you have just done such amazing work with such impacts over the years. From time to time, we want to highlight some of those groups in general, because what we tell lawmakers is Peace Corps isn't just about those 27 months. And in essence, we have 145 nonprofit organizations out there doing great work at $0 taxpayer expense. So this is really helpful and really important when you share this information. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan.
So what we will be doing again is, as part of the reaffiliation, but there will also be data requests. We will be asking some hopefully basic questions that are no extra work that would allow us to get to have these numbers. So that we can tell the stories, as well as to have the qualitative, which is Dan was talking, not Dan, Jonathan was just mentioning about, cleanups and et cetera. So that was really why we wanted to bring this up. If there's any feedback or from you about this, please let us know. I don't know if anybody wants to raise their hand or has any comments. Also, the standing committee, again, is intimately involved in this. So it is a group effort. We are one team.
Yeah, great. Did we want to move on to the next part? I think it's unless somebody else wanted to say something.
I'm in St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin, and we've gathered several returned Peace Corps volunteers. And so what we have so far done is, talk to each other and figured out where we were coming from. But then we went to the career days at the high schools. We've only just begun that. And we found that none of the high school students have ever heard of the Peace Corps here. So we're going to continue to do that in the career days. And hopefully more people will get to know that's an option in the future for them.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I think we've seen throughout in the past, from last night to today, a lot, people don't know about Peace Corps. So maybe that might be something, if your group wants to do, it might be something you want to think about. I think we were talking about maybe coming out of here and making kind of deciding what we want to do as a group, something small. It collectively of 149 of us will make a huge difference. So we can go to the next slide. Oh wait, I'm sorry, Caroline, go ahead and actually go back. Yeah. Caroline wants to speak. Go ahead.
No, just really quickly, because just as the previous speaker said, out here in Hawaii, the numbers of people that the teenage crowd they don't know about Peace Corps. They ask about it. We were asked by one of the local high schools that has the largest second language program here in the state to come talk to the Spanish class and the senior classes about Peace Corps.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose her?
Hello.
I think we lost you, Caroline.
Oops.
Virtual. But the best part about working with the particular high school was the parents that remembered Peace Corps. And the parents talked to us and they were like, oh my God, you're back and it's still alive. So the suggestion, and I'm really proud of this because we go to the high school every year, and now we're going to the other big high schools, the huge Kamehameha school system. We're going into the big private schools, working at the senior level to get kids interested and remind them about Peace Corps and to keep the college education because you will need it, but you can use it as you move on. So don't think it's just career fairs. Look at the senior level as well.
Thank you. Good idea.
I think we can go, Stuart, I think you have your hand.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm a board member of the Corva, Columbus, Ohio Return Volunteer Association. We do something annually, it's part of the ComFest, which is where all the community come together, and we sell watermelon, and we've been very fortunate to collect. It's all volunteer, except for the payment of the watermelon. All the Peace Corps volunteers have to cut watermelon and dish it out. And anyway, we raised close to $4,500 in that last year. We're going in June. We're going to obviously donate that to a number of groups. We have some standard groups we do. I won't go into them. One of them is CHRIS, which is a resettlement program. But we're also going to give some money to the Peace Corps Partnership Program. There are a number of the Peace Corps partners. We're going to be looking at all of those and trying to select which of the 8 or 9, I don't know how many, there are 8 or 19 on the website. So we're proud about that. And we just gave money to a co-op in Cañar, where I served in Ecuador, and $500 because they're going to be hosting a quinoa conference, a World Congress. This is an indigenous co-op that I've been familiar with. I visited them in 2015, and my compatriot from New Jersey, Alan Adams, has been doing the most of the work. But anyway, that's some of the things that Corva is doing, and we donate the money that we make and from this annual festival, and we're very proud of that. And so that's one example. Thank you very much for listening.
Great, thank you. I'll move on because I know we're a little bit behind, but so people don't look at the definition, but I pulled this this name. How do we ensure, this is the question, how do we ensure Peace Corps is no longer shoegate? I pulled this vocabulary word from my kids. I'm now a English as a new language teacher in a urban high school, and the kids are using these words, not just this one, but basically it means something or someone who's out of touch or trying too hard. It's not quite basic, I think, but it's someone who's behind the trends. Like, we don't want Peace Corps to be behind the trends. I always felt like Peace Corps was a little bit ahead of the times. I don't know, but a lot of things have changed in the last few years because of the pandemic. And so I wanted to open it up to everyone to be like, how do we make it cool again, and or just reinvigorate it as and we could just open it up through the chat, or if somebody wants to speak up about it.
Would you mind if I add something? Or I think what is so important about this, you folks who have already spoken have pretty much pointed to this, right? That you're going to many places and young people haven't heard of it. And so what do we do to move out of that space? What's our role, and especially in particular, the role of groups? We've talked a lot about the each one reach one and, individual, but what about groups? And so, and what can we do to make Peace Corps something that people, are fighting to get in, right? Like to take it from there's so many applications, they can pick and choose who they want. Like, how do we increase the demand so that it actually is over what Peace Corps would like? So when we're thinking about this kind of word, that's what we're talking about right now. I think all of you really stated it so well.
Yep. I think Ben has his hand up.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Christina, thanks. And Carla, thank you too. I think the issue is that a lot of people who are millennials, Gen Z, they want to have a tangible benefit from it. And so it's like I posted in our group chat before we got into this meeting, is that sometimes there is that, that Kennedy idealism is still there that I love, but a lot of younger people, they don't even know who President Kennedy is. And that's what's tough, is the realism of what is this organization that is actually a federal government agency and what is its purpose, in 2024. And I think a lot of folks, especially the younger folks, they want to know, if I do this, if I forego a paycheck for however many years, I will get something guaranteed when I come back. NCE is not guaranteed, because if federal HR specialists do not understand how to use, Executive Order 11103, then it doesn't help that person. And so I think it has to go with, going to the top of government and saying, you need to talk about this. And that could do it, kind of the reinvigoration of what happened, in the 60s itself. I mean, it's good when Representative Garamendi talks about it, but if he's the only returned Peace Corps volunteer in Congress, that's really a shame. And so I don't know what the best solution is, because I find that a lot of the people, at least with, the Peace Corps China Association, most of us, have official positions where we have to be very careful how not to cross the streams between what we do for our PCV, our stuff, and what we do officially in government. But that's why I suggested, recruiters should be more experienced people, because they could talk about, this is what I did in service at some age, and this is what I've done now. I mean, people do service for a lot of different reasons, but it was very uncomfortable when I was in service myself, especially in China in 2016, 2018, when China was kind of becoming this thing. How many people did service solely as a stepping stone to something later? And so they quit their service, they admin-cept, and that was really bad for those communities. And so figuring out a way to teach people to say, this is worth it. It's good for the 2 years. It'll make you a better person. And it'll make your communities, great as well. And so I was talking this week and, hearing that Peace Corps wants to have, for certain countries, a break to go back to the United States. I think that is a terrible idea, because I think some people would go back to the United States and then not go back to their country of service. But that's a whole other thing. We have to find a way to make Peace Corps relevant for younger Americans. And when younger Americans are online all the time, in most cases, there are places in the world where you're serving and you're not going to be online. And that could cause extraordinary anxiety for some people. And so kind of teaching people it's okay to not have your phone, and there's so much you can do.
Yeah, that's great. I think Nancy had her hand up. Go ahead, Nancy.
Yeah, I think we need great advertising, and I think we need to use little snippets or videos on TikTok and Instagram, and show young people what it's like. And I think even though they'll be looking at things online, I think we want the kind of people who enjoy life and can find adventure living with people offline, and doing work. And there used to be some great pictorial ads too. I think maybe reinvigorating those and sharing those, maybe in magazines or something. So I think advertising is key. There are a lot of things now that we didn't get. I think it's good to invite young people to find adventure in life and do something with other people around the world. So that's my thought.
Would you mind if I come in just for a second, Christina? I think it's going to be great to hear from Jonathan. I don't know, Chris, if your hand is still up from before, you had another thought, and George. But I would like us to think concretely when we leave this conversation, what can we do to contribute? What I heard from you, I think it was Chris, I'm sorry, I believe it was Chris. You know, what triggered for me was there's a role in terms of how NPCA and with our relationship and MOU, and when we're working with Andrew and Peace Corps, there are things that we can do to advocate or to discuss some of the points that you raised. But in addition to what NPCA at the higher level, what can each group, what could their role be to inspire, et cetera? Because at the end of the day, I'm going back to data. I'd love to be able to say, you know, I believe it was Hawaii, talked about doing certain things at a place. If we could say that we as a collective went to 150 different schools, that's a powerful thing to say. So what can we do, given everything we all know, given all the challenges? What would NPCA do, if you will, advocacy, discussions at a higher level, but what can groups also do that would all roll up to showing our mission? And I'll leave it there.
I'll let Jonathan out. Before to Jonathan, I was just thinking about some easy things we can do about maybe as groups using social media is a big part of it. TikTok is like hot right now. Peace Corps cannot be on TikTok, but we need more voices on TikTok. I'm always trying to look for TikToks because I got on TikTok because of my kids for teaching, and you know, I just scroll through it, but I can't find much Peace Corps stuff. So maybe we need as groups something like that, something concrete, something easy. That might be something. Go ahead, Jonathan. I'll let you speak now.
Thanks so much, Christina. And Carla, I got to say, you actually really set me up nicely there. So kind of going from what Ben was saying, our Pacific Nexus is trying to help out the Peace Corps volunteers after they come back from service. What I'm hoping to build off of that is the connection from what comes post-service to what comes into service. Potential Peace Corps volunteers look at Peace Corps service and they say, okay, I'm going to leave for 2 years. And then I come back with what? I come back to what? What are my pathways? What are my opportunities? With our Pacific Nexus, we're trying to have those conversations with providing the career services, but more importantly, having career pathway conversations, career panels, as you will, to talk about, hey, my 2 years of Peace Corps service, my 3 years of Peace Corps service got me the skills and the experiences and things that I needed to get me to where I am now today. And we're able to then start drawing those dots across time. This is something that Peace Corps used to do, I'm going to say almost 10 years ago, but then what NPCA did with the Global Reentry Program, as both of those programs were able to sunset, our Pacific Nexus is trying to help out with that. We're setting up programs for mentoring programs to help out conversations between the volunteers that are just coming back with those that have that experience. Because the biggest thing that we're able to do is, to Carla's point, transfer that knowledge, but show the numbers. Where are we going? How Peace Corps act as a stepping stone, as a springboard into our next career phase. I'd love to have conversations with people. I know you all work across the world, across the country in different aspects of things. How can we showcase these stories and exactly of what Dan is putting into the chat of like how we're able to parallel these different missions. I've chatted with Megan from WPCL with Peace Corps, Women of the Peace Corps Legacy. We're looking to collaborate with all the different groups on a lot of these. So I'm gonna put our.
You muted yourself.
Thank you. I put the resource library into the chat. We're looking to build this out. Any kind of recommendations, any kind of connections, and I'll put my email out there as well because we're here to help everybody. That's why we come to NPCA. That's why all these different groups exist, is to help those that come behind us. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Jonathan. Chris, and then maybe we'll let George, and then we'll move on to our last part.
Yeah, thank you. So as I mentioned before, I coordinate the Peace Corps Prep program at the University of Arizona, and probably a lot of you don't know what the Peace Corps Prep program is. Maybe you've never heard of it. It is a program that was created by Peace Corps about 7 years ago. It is one of the 2 university partnership programs, the other being the Coverdell Fellowship. But the goal of the Peace Corps Prep program is to work with undergraduate students to prepare them for Peace Corps service to help them improve their application process. Now, I'm really lucky at the University of Arizona that I have a dedicated staff allotment to me to do this job. I also have funding from a college to provide program resources and support. But when I went to the conference last year for all the similar coordinators for the conference or Peace Corps prep positions, I am definitely in the minority of being a dedicated staff person and having program funding. Most of the other prep coordinators, it's like a fraction of a faculty member's job or a fraction of a staff advisor's job in a career services. Most of them don't have program funding. That means that their capacity, their scope is limited. And so what I would really encourage you all to do as affiliate groups, as NPCA, is to look strongly at the Peace Corps Prep program. And I'm going to post a link in chat here. You can see all of the universities. There's 144 of them that have Peace Corps Prep programs across the country. Reach out to those programs, reach out to the prep coordinators, give them support, pay for events, say, hey, we have volunteers, we want to come to campus, we'll throw you $100 to buy pizza for a meeting or sponsor an event. Come to our meetings, invite students to come to our meetings. Let's do service projects together. Let's have social events together. Start building those connections and fostering those connections. Even more so than the Peace Corps recruiters who are sort of temporary at campuses. They come and they go, their usual RPCVs. Usually for the recruiters, they're coming in fresh. They may or may not have any experience with the region or the university. They don't know who to talk to. They don't know the right people. Universities can be really big, complicated places, especially large universities like a University of Arizona. They're hard to navigate. The recruiters usually spend their first year just kind of figuring out which way is which, who to talk to, making connections before they can really make a lot of connections. The prep coordinators, on the other hand, are usually people who've been at the university for a while. They are often returned Peace Corps volunteers in and of themselves. They have more familiarity, they have more knowledge, so they have a lot more direct impact and potential in reaching and serving undergraduate students. I met with 10 undergraduate students just this past week from the incoming class who are all interested in joining the prep program and want to be Peace Corps volunteers. TikTok is great. All the students I talk to pretty much on Instagram right now. I think TikTok will be for the, maybe high schoolers and up and coming, but Instagram is still really a powerful platform for them, but an increasing number are swearing off of social media. Make sure that your pitch, kind of what Peace Corps is about these days, and talk about the benefits, particularly when we want to recruit diverse applicants to Peace Corps. Folks and students that don't have the opportunity to do study abroad, because study abroad is pretty expensive and inaccessible for a lot of students. Peace Corps is a great alternative for any of those students to get that international experience. And when you talk about the benefits of student loan deferment, the Coverdell Fellowship, when you get back, paying for subsidizing graduate school, the fact that you can go and live in another country for 2 years, pretty much all expenses paid, and do volunteer work, those are the kind of things that really connect with students and help them make that calculus in their head of what's in it for me, what do I get out of it. I could talk about this for hours, but I'll leave it there. But please, I encourage you to, reach out to your local Peace Corps prep programs, support them as affiliate groups. And for the NPCA, I would look at, how can you all support Peace Corps partnership or Peace Corps prep programs at universities, and what kind of maybe grant funding program, things like that. I know you all going to see a grant application from me coming up to support some of our work, but thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. George.
Yeah, thanks, Christina, and thanks everybody. Those are all really great ideas. And to get back to Carla's question on what can we do with affiliate groups to make an impact here. I'm speaking from a background. I was with Peace Corps for 17 years in a variety of roles, and so got to see it on many levels. And this is my personal opinion, I believe that we need to change from doing service to the Peace Corps to doing service to countries, specifically the Peace Corps way. What I mean by that is none of our recruitment is focused on countries. Our recruitment is focused on Peace Corps, right? And so when I think about Americans that could connect to Mongolia, for example, there's never been a Mongolian American or somebody with Mongolian heritage that's ever served in Peace Corps Mongolia. And there's thousands of Mongolian Americans that could serve in Peace Corps Mongolia, but they don't even know it exists. And how do we connect those people to that country? How do we connect Americans to their heritage? And I believe that is a shift that could help our recruitment and completely change the Peace Corps paradigm. Because every country is super different. Peace Corps is super different everywhere. It's nice that we have a lot of common Peace Corps experiences in certain ways, but I would love to change that. The people are connected to the world now. Peace Corps doesn't have to be the way it used to be. Peace Corps can be something else. So I would just love to see that paradigm shift happen, and it would look different in every country, obviously. I know about Mongolia because that's where I served and where I lived for 9 years and was a DMO and everything. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. And thanks everybody else for the comments as well.
Thank you, George. I was just thinking one of the best things I did, because my dad served in Peru and married my Peruvian mother. And honestly, serving in Bolivia was the best way to really understand a part of who I was by serving in Bolivia. They're very similar culturally, but I started, even understanding my mom, who's a very typical Latino mother. But it's like really to be able to connect back and be able to see that really helps the volunteer kind of connect to their own heritage as well. So recruiting, the diversity recruitment is really important. We have so many people. Go ahead.
Yes, and I'm just going to jump back in on one thing, because our goal is to come away with something that would be measurable. And what I'm hearing from George is that it would be nice to have his dream, or his thing would be able to see how we can support linking a cultural heritage linkage of volunteers. So I put it on the table, if that would be something that a potential area where we would, as a group, be able to commit to as one approach, one of many. We're not married to any one thing, but what would we be able to measure and data? So in the end, we would be able to say, Andrew, I'm just using you, Andrew, because I saw you were on the line. Andrew, here is an approach that we used, and look at the results that came from the Peace Corps community. So I know the conversation is rich, and I know I'm a little bit pragmatic, so I'm looking for a little bit of the middle ground. But what are we going to come away with that we would be able to do, in a year to help in this effort? Just bringing us back.
Can I actually, I think I see Blue and Anya have their hands up. Can I pause it and go to the next section about volunteer recruitment? We've been like kind of talking about it. And then I actually recruited my neighbor and my friend. I'm actually in Rochester, New York right now. And Tony Agnello is very active, and actually Brett, I think I see him in the chat. They were talking about some of the stuff they've been doing, because in our region, even though we have tons of universities, we really don't have a recruiter to help us like navigate like recruiting, and we have fairly active RPCV, especially the Buffalo RPCVs. So can I let Brett maybe pop in and say a few words about what they did, and then we can go back. We'll go back to Blue and Anya about what they wanted to talk about, and then after that we can talk, I imagine, whenever until we can, because then that part will be done. So I don't know if Brett, if you're there, if you want to say a few words.
Hi, Christina. Thank you for passing that off. So yeah, our group, I had put in the chat, but we were approached by Canisius to sit on a panel discussion. And then further from there, we actually have an RPCV on our board who is an associate professor at Buff State. So really, we've been looking out to reach out to local universities, schools, areas around Buffalo that typically are underserved and underrepresented. And a lot of it just comes down to the fact that we don't have a recruiter near us. So we've kind of just taken it upon ourselves to do that activity, just for what it is. And again, not to knock PC or MPCA, but it's the fact that, like, if it's going to get done, we're just going to do it. And that's kind of just the method that we've taken, and it's been pretty successful so far. Now, to Carla's point, we haven't done data collection, which certainly something we can do in the future. But we've seen a pretty well attended event, and we've had actually great interest in the group, and we're hoping to curate more interest in some events that we can put on locally.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Brett, and then Blue, I know you've been waiting patiently, so please.
At my age, waiting patiently is the only thing I can do well. Hi, I'm Blue Woldridge. I was a volunteer in Nigeria from January of '63 until I left 3 years later at December of '65. And I've been a university professor for like about 50 years. And I certainly have been promoting Peace Corps service as a professor. But I think we might want to focus on two things: the actual enjoyment and what we learn from being in country, and how that exposed us to an interest in lots of different countries. I've ended up by going back to many different countries, working in Africa, but other countries as well. But also how it affected my career. I tell my students, and I guess we have, Chris mentioned the name of a Peace Corps prep program at VCU, and I've met with people, and they've written about me and so on. But I think I claim that everything positive that's happened in my career, and a few negative things, happened because I had been a Peace Corps volunteer. And it just led me into one position or career path and so on to another. So I put in something in the chat. I can remember when I got out of the Peace Corps sponsored the Green Book or the Green Sheet, which was a listing of jobs that organizations were looking for Peace Corps with Peace Corps experiences and or universities.
Yes.
And I can remember going to graduate school because I applied to a graduate school that was particularly looking for people with Peace Corps experience. And that was back in the 60s. So anything that we can do for that, as well as I promoted through my professional associations. I can remember on Obama's inauguration day at the National Academy of Public Administration, we had a group of senators from northern Nigeria, one who by coincidence had been a student of mine from Sokoto and had gone on to become a provincial or state senator. And so, I mean, that was very rewarding for me, and he claimed he remembered me. But certainly, anything that we can talk about and focus and make clear pathways on how Peace Corps experience can help us in our careers as well. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Blue. Okay, so Anya, go ahead.
So I, for example, have a perspective from a former staff, and I would love to be able to be eligible to be a recruiter for the Peace Corps. However, because I don't have the actual RPCV, I wouldn't be eligible. And I think that that's something to bring up, because as people that have been directly working in the field with the communities and volunteers, I believe that may be something that could be considered to be lifted, so that there is a broader capacity for recruitment from a different angle. And I'm also interested in how can we make this recruitment more targeted, because recruiting sometimes for the Peace Corps tends to be a little bit too broad. And I, for example, would be highly interested in creating a recruitment platform for the public health programs, specifically connecting the dots for the high school students that are interested to pursuing healthcare careers and wanting to go into like a public health program. And Masters of Public Health are becoming highly popular at this time in healthcare. And that would be a great advantage for someone that has completed a Peace Corps service tour to be able to be eligible for those programs. And the type of recruitment that has to happen for healthcare industry is kind of more, it's a mixture between business and corporate type presentation to a simple presentation that could be held at a community college that has programs that have students from all kinds of economic backgrounds. So I just really am hoping to be able to see a more targeted recruitment effort on the national level that targets specific career paths, like Blue was saying, and like sort of like George was saying, that a certain mind shift has to happen to accommodate the changes in the industry, as well as bringing in people that actually would have a long-term impact in certain career fields.
That's really great, Anya. There's a couple people who told that you can you don't have to be an RPCV to be a recruiter, so there's some hope there. But I agree with you with targeting recruitment. I always I come from a science background and spent 10 years being a scientist, and I always felt that I think scientists should, you know, either before they get their PhDs, they should be serving the Peace Corps and actually go into the communities where they're doing their that research, because it brings more to the research. And it wasn't always understood. So targeting certain areas or engineers, there's a lot of opportunities there to kind of make those connections. And I agree on that one. I think we're getting pretty close to 6, so I think we could wrap up. I think we could go on with this. I think we're going to have other opportunities to move forward in the future. But
can I ask one question on this before we go?
Yeah.
I would love to just get feedback that if the standing committee were to propose a particular, I'm going to use recruitment for the purposes of the conversation, were to propose an indicator or a challenge, if you will, that each group were able to do 2 events. I'm just using 2, could be any figure, right? But 2 events, and in, you know, at any level, I don't care whether it's, you know, at a community fair, at a university, it doesn't matter, where they could commit to promoting Peace Corps and its value, you know, the value of the experience. If the standing committee were to come up with that, how would groups feel? Was that worded well, Christina?
Yeah, I understood. Yeah, I mean, is that something I think that we could all make, even the smallest groups could probably go and, you know, go to the local university or go speak at a school.
A lot of us do that now, Carla. A lot of us do that now. that's part of like our group, that's our mission is we work third goal. We talk at Rotaries, we talk at high schools. We've had send-off events for the last 7 years, whether it's virtual or it's in person. And now we just had an annual picnic, and the Peace Corps recruiter that's out here, all the applicants that are really interested in Peace Corps, she sends them to our picnics. She sends them to our Pauhanas. And what I learned having met with Ed Case and his group, this is something for you that the standing committee, one of my suggestions is to make sure that we're all on the same page with the data, learning who is overseas from our state. Because Ed Case gave us a list. He sends a letter every year thanking people for joining the Peace Corps. And the list he gave me was different than the list that the Peace Corps recruiter gave me. So I now know that there are 17 people from Hawaii where I only thought there were 12. So if we could link to the data, really work with Peace Corps on the data so that we know how to help the kids overseas. Thanks.
Great, thank you.
So then I would say, just know that that's probably an opening, that we are looking at this issue.
I think Dan wants to say something
Yeah.
before we conclude.
I feel like we're wrapping up, and I just wanted to offer a kind of final couple of words. So if there's anything else you wanted to get to on the slides, please do so before I speak up.
Oh, the only thing is did the whoever did the poll for for the approval of the minutes, was it approved?
Yes.
Yes, I can share the results.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then so it's passed. We'll also have, we'll probably convert this into the minutes for next year as well. And next year it will be in person. And one of the exciting things about is Peace Corps Connect 2025 that I think our affiliate groups will be definitely more integrated into the whole Peace Corps Connect. We will definitely have our meeting to as well like this, but we're going to be very much part of the Peace Corps Connect rather than us kind of a separate event. And am I missing anything? And can we?
Can I just add a couple things?
Sure.
One is one of my friends who was in the Peace Corps with me, he told me all about global volunteers. And that's where you can go. And he's done this, I don't know how many, he's gone to 50 different countries, because you go for 1 or 2 weeks just teaching English, doing some particular thing. So it's something to do after you have come back from your 2 years. The other one is another friend taught gardening in Chile. And after that, he went, and I don't remember what the program was, but he would go for maybe a month or so, or maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and he would teach square foot gardening in different countries, like in Africa. And so there are a lot of those kinds of programs, apparently, that it would be nice to be able to have the returned Peace Corps volunteers know more about.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I think we have there's some reminders on here on our last one, and then we'll let Dan complete wrap up the last part.
So again, the Rupee awards, or the nominations, have been completed. We're asking everyone to vote. Just a gentle reminder, if you have not completed the post-event survey, again, please do that. We ask that you join and post on the affiliate Facebook page. It's a good communication tool. And finally, you will be getting information in the coming weeks about the reaffiliation survey. Because the period is now changed, it's going to be open from November 1st to January 31st. So you will be getting more about that.
Well, thank you, especially to Carla and Christina. I felt really very good energy at the AGNAM, really the whole afternoon and yesterday evening. And I think we can bring the AGNAM meeting to close in a minute. There is actually a couple things we're doing related to groups that didn't come out. I want to thank, I think, almost every group that's represented here today participated in the sign-on letter requesting Peace Corps to share COSing volunteer contact information with NPCA so that we could make that available to groups. We want to close the loop with you on that. We had a very nice response, official response from the director's office that Peace Corps is not able to do that, and gave some reasons why. I think it can still be addressed through legislation, and we'll explore that opportunity. But I have to acknowledge the great relationship that we have with Andrew Wilson and the Third Goal Office, and the workarounds that we're creating. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, it is about 10 years ago, maybe more, Peace Corps, due to Privacy Act regulations, stopped sharing the contact information for people who are leaving Peace Corps with NPCA, which we used to make available to groups so that we could enhance your membership and you could reach out to them directly with invitations. However, we are now exploring, and Andrew Wilson from the Third Goal Office is already implementing an invitation to join NPCA to all currently serving volunteers within their last couple of months of service, and other ways we've shared with them a flyer, and they're putting information about Peace Corps, NPCA into other Peace Corps materials. And what I'm especially excited about is the offer from the recruitment office to help NPCA capture people even before they begin their Peace Corps service, so that we can connect them to affiliate groups. And this is good for all groups, country of service, local groups, and cause affinity related groups. So the idea there is that in recruitment materials will be including information about NPCA and the group network. The other thing that we did a webinar about this maybe 9 months or so ago, and Andrew, maybe you can repost that email address that for groups that are doing local events or online events for countries of service. If you send your event details to, thank you, Andrew, rpcv@peacecorps.gov. What Peace Corps can now do, and this is new, this is big, Peace Corps will go into their database and send an invitation to all invitees that are in your area or for your country so that they can join your group. The invitation should live on NPCA's Blackbaud news system. That way, we can capture the email addresses and names as they are signing up for your events and begin communicating with them on the front end of their service. This is very significant, and perhaps the best way I've heard of in many years to capture more incoming Peace Corps volunteers. So great opportunity. Share your events with this email address. We'll reinforce this in other messages, but it is a great workaround, and actually maybe even better than direct data sharing for engaging people before service. So thanks to Andrew. We're working on a video that Peace Corps has offered to share as well. And one other concept that we're exploring is a country-specific or location-specific email that would go to currently serving volunteers, inviting them to sign up directly with the country group. For example, Friends of Paraguay, volunteers in Paraguay would receive in their service at some point an email. We're still working on approvals for that, but it looks like it could happen as well. But it's just been a creative and great partnership, and we thank the Third Goal Office and Peace Corps for their flexibility and partnership there. There are other things we're doing. One other thing, just for example, we have an upcoming board meeting in PCA in Chicago on September 27th. It is our annual in-person board meeting, and that's where we'll seat our new board directors. The night before, we're going to do an event for all Chicago area Peace Corps volunteers and the CAPCA Volunteer Association. And if you feel like you have an annual event where it would be beneficial for NPCA staff or board members to be present, please let us know. We feel like we can help promote your event, and we'll send out emails through our database We might even occasionally ask Peace Corps to help promote bigger events in our community as well. Certainly, we won't do that for all the events, but and we won't be able to make it to all events. But we do want to return to days that we have seen in the past where we try to have MPCA representatives at more of your events. So please keep us in mind and send an email to groups@peacecorpsconnect.org if you have an event that you would like us to work with you on. I think I've talked enough, and I'm sure everybody is anxious to get off a Zoom meeting after 4 hours now. We've been going, so a lot longer for staff. Any final words, Christina, Carla?
No, just thank you. I mean, we still have a huge number on the call. I am so grateful. I think we're all so grateful for everybody's engagement. I'm excited for next year, Peace Corps Connect 2025. I think it's going to be even better, but this has been a great afternoon. Yeah, just whatever you need, reach out to us. We're happy to continue this conversation. And thank you for your time.
And with that,
Thank
we
you
can
so much.
officially close Peace Corps Connect 2024. And next year, we'll see you in person.